Hello. How are we all? Doing good, are we? 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 What beer until you breakfast? Oh, bloody hell. What beer until you breakfast? Oh, bloody hell. What beer until you breakfast? Oh, bloody hell. What beer until you... Oh, fucking echo. Yeah, it's because I had the streamed volume on. It happens from time to time. Your disagreement is that you should stop putting Riff will be back as if he was never here in the first place, like my dad. I mean, evidently your dad was there, because, I mean, how else would your mum have shit you out? Yeah, how's everyone doing? Does anyone have any disagreements or any topics to discuss? I don't know. Fuck's sakes. That's so fucking stupid, but yeah, well, it is what it is. It's probably the least dumb thing that I've heard. Tails Doll versus Mimikyu. How about no? Right, well, since there's a video that people really wanted me to react to, so Sonic Race. Yeah, so the video that people wanted me to react to was this one, where I think it's like the top one. I feel like I don't know if like the actual hold on. I don't really know if it's like a troll or what have you, but either way, it's something we'll have a cheeky little look at. Hey Alex, how you doing, buddy? I'm just trying to find some fucking music to have in the background. So let's tune into the local Sonic radio station. This is rather nice. Listen to this. I'm not too bad. Alex, how about yourself? Would Sonic X Dragon Ball work? I'm not interested in shipping characters, thank you. Because my standards in humanity has not been eroded that much. But yeah, let's take a look at Sonic 3's Shockingly Terrible. Yeah. Oh.
This is definitely another one.
What the fuck? Who's that fucking Japanese bitch that just appeared? Fuck are you do? I thought you were getting breakfast. Normally it takes you like 3 hours to get your breakfast.
Well, my breakfast isn't ready yet, so I'm here.
Oh, are you? Alright. Right. Well, since you're here, one moment.
They go.
There we go.
I can see screen.
You can see screen.
There we go.
Right, so
Yes.
apparently Sonic 3 is shockingly terrible, so let's have a cheeky little look.
My god, what was that movie? This is definitely another Wild Robot situation. If you guys like this movie and you're subscribed, you might as well just unsubscribe now, get it over with, and just leave this video, because I've got practically nothing good to say about this film. I think this is the worst film of the year, even worse than Inside Out 2, which you guys know I didn't like. But yeah, just before that, I just want to wish you guys, hope you guys had a good Christmas. Hope your New Year's going well so far. 2024 was not the best year for a lot of people.
He sounds like he's dead behind the eyes. He should really, he should watch Sonic 3. It'll cheer him up.
My
kind
only
of a tough year,
are...
and I hope 2025 gets a bit better. My hopes aren't the highest for that, but we shall see. And I'll explain where I've been at the end of the video, as I've sort of said. But yeah, no, Sonic 3. What a movie! What a picture! So me and my friend went to see it at the Light Cinema.
Jesus, that quality!
I've sort of seen the end credit scene a load of times, because one of the reasons why I haven't been around is because I've started working at a cinema, and I've just seen the end credits and post credit scene. And I was watching them, and I thought, you know what? There's barely any dialogue in the post credits, so I couldn't really tell the quality. But I was just like, this seems like it will be at least okay. Or, you know, maybe it's a bit bad, but there's some redeeming qualities. But no, this film, as my mate said, it's so insufferable. It's one of the most, like, insufferable films ever. Every second of it is so grating and annoying. Side note, guys, cinema.
Is he trying to be Matt
Oh my
Walsh?
god, it was.
I don't really know.
It was terrible at my cinema. There was this what we thought was like a teenage girl in front of us. And she was on like Instagram or Snapchat, and she.
How the fuck is this relevant to the? How is this relevant to the fucking film?
To like go to the toilet, and yeah, it's just like, this is crazy, man. It's the parents which are ruining things like this. Like, there's no way my parents would have let me get away with like half the stuff I see at the cinemas, and they're just so dirty nowadays as well. Like, there's just so much like stuff on the floor, and you know, stuff like that, and it's just like. Come on, guys. Come on. You know, Sonic and stuff, and like Sonic is like for me, I think he was the most annoying character in the whole film, because all he does is give out constant quip after quip after quip, like everything. It's just like this level of like, guys.
Yeah, no shit.
He's standing right behind me, isn't he? And it's just like, yeah, okay. And it's like, it just never ends. There's like no ending to it, and it's just like, it's just ridiculous. And then Jane from Breaking Bad's in this, and again, it's just another like throwaway character. Like, what was the point of her? Like, nothing, not really.
Jane from
Tails is in this, and he's one of the most.
Yeah, I've had enough of this.
What?
Well.
I cannot tell if that's a troll or what? What's that nonsense?
Hey guys, this is Noxerence. I'd like to go on record and say I do not like the MCU's version of Spider-Man.
Oh no.
Oh dear.
Yeah, boo me all you want. That's not gonna change the way I feel. I didn't really like him in Civil War, but that was due to a bias I had against Tom Holland due to him replacing Andrew Garfield. So when Spider-Man Homecoming was announced, I decided to give the MCU Spidey another chance and watch the movie once it came out. However, once I had a chance to watch Homecoming, I didn't really like it, and I didn't form an attachment to that version of Peter like I did with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's version of him. I didn't understand why I felt that way, nor did I put too much thought into why. I figured since I didn't enjoy it, I might as well not put too much thought into the movie and move on. But then I went to see Far From Home 2 years later and thought it was just as bad. And then 2 years after that, I went to see No Way Home and I thought it was worse than the last two movies. It boggled my mind why I didn't like those movies considering how big of a Spider-Man fan I was and still am. But again, I didn't put too much thought into why because I didn't want to dwell on movies I found bad. However, after watching Across the Spider-Verse, a light bulb went off in my head. I thought it'd be a pretty cool idea to rewatch the Home trilogy, find out the reason why I didn't like it, and then talk about it on my channel. So after a few hours of trying to stay awake and regretting my life choices, it finally hit me.
Kiwi, do you have Roblox?
I do. I just haven't been on there.
Mm-hmm.
The reason why I hate the MCU version of Spider-Man is because these films barely understand the appeal behind the character, No Way Home especially. But before I explain why, I want to give a quick disclaimer. If you happen to like the MCU version of Spider-Man, then that's fine. This isn't me trying to criticize the fans, it's more so me trying to criticize the movie and the character portrayal. Now with that out of the way, let's begin. So one of the things that makes Spider-Man so appealing as a character is that he's a street-level superhero. He doesn't save the world on a day-to-day basis, nor is his roster of villains as powerful or threatening as Loki and Ultron. Most of the time, he does things like helping kids who are being bullied and takes down threats to a city like Kingpin or Green Goblin. That's why some of the best and most memorable adaptations of Spider-Man are when he lives up to his title of being a friendly neighborhood superhero. This is where my first gripe with MCU Spider-Man comes to.
I think that's a fair point. I think a lot of the time in recent memory, like people tend to forget that like Spider-Man is mostly like a street level character. Thoughts on Might of Gibberer? I don't think I've heard of them before, so I don't know if I can comment on that.
Play. Now I will admit, upon rewatch, Spider-Man Homecoming does have that element of Peter being a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Well, at least in comparison to the other MCU movies he appears in. However, in all his other appearances in the MCU, they have Spider-Man being either.
Why? What are they like? You know what? I'm kind of not really having fun reacting to videos at the moment. Like, there's not that many like good ones. I think I'm just gonna do some. Fuck it. We'll do Spider-Man 2. Why not?
Why not?
Unless you guys want me to do Sonic Racing, which I recently got. I recently downloaded the Sonic Racing games. Mainly because Sonic Crossworlds is coming out.
Which I am actually kind of excited for.
I am kind of excited for Crossworlds, not gonna lie. I feel like it would... There's not been that many like good racing games that I actually like really enjoy. So fingers crossed Crossworlds will be the exception.
Watches RG Sonic vs. Wally. Wes is the best debug ever proves RG Sonic could beat any Flash easy.
I don't agree. To be honest, I don't really agree with that. Like, I think Flash at his peak would absolutely bully Sonic.
No way.
To be completely honest.
Stop yawning. I'm either tired, hungry, or both.
Yeah, cause like here's the thing with like Sonic in general. It's like, yeah, he's fast, like he's faster than the speed of sound, but he hasn't like done things that the Flash has done, like, you know, like going back in time and stuff. Like the only character that would could be considered going back in time is Silver the Hedgehog. But his reason of why he goes back in time is because he's trying to fix his future, like something would happen in his future, and he's like, I have to fix it, you know? So you're considering covering that Limus video talking about last year, the one developed for me, the best villain is fine if you don't want to watch.
You come in the Limus video? I might actually look at that. Yeah, that's a good point. I might look at that.
But you know, something went back in time in CD.
But like,
I didn't play the game, so I don't know much about that lore.
Yeah, he does go back in time in CD.
Okay, but that's like only one occasion. I think Flash had done like several occasions, hasn't he? And then like Sonic went to the future a few times, but that's because of Silver. So I mean, we're talking about Sonic RG, the most OP one. He literally can do everything Flash can do, but better. Okay, here's the thing. I actually read a bunch of Sonic RG comics, actually, and have, like, watched a lot of, like, shows, or some shows with the Flash and stuff like that, and, I'm sorry, but that's not, I don't really, I'm sorry, no.
Let's go!
Immediately, no.
Turn around.
Seriously, RG Sonic is like the most base, like regular Sonic, where he just has to protect the princess and had to fight Eggman during a war and stuff like that.
Archie Sonic can do everything Flash can do, but better. I very much fucking doubt that.
No. But hey, this is Disagreement Day, so...
Why do you think Archie Sonic is better than Flash in every way?
Do you think Silver was stupid for falling from Memphis' decision in 06?
I don't think he was stupid, I think he was just desperate.
I think he was definitely a little bit naive. And so, like, that's why I relate to him so much. Because he's like, no, he's not dumb or stupid. He's just really optimistic and really want to save his future and everything. And so, someone saying, hey, I know how this can save your future.
Metal Sonic versus Mario. I think Mario takes that, not gonna lie. Like, Metal Sonic has quite a long lineup of L's. I think Mario would beat Metal Sonic.
Who is the stronger Sonic rival? Shadow versus Metal Sonic?
Shadow. Look at Shadow Generations. Fucking Shadow in base defeated Metal Overlord. Like, yeah, it's pretty clear Shadow is more powerful. Go watch his video. Well, no, because videos can be biased. So I'm asking you, because you clearly know more about Archie Sonic than I do. What has he done that makes him better than Flash?
Exactly.
Because videos can be biased. So I'm asking you, like, what has Archie Sonic done that's, like, that impressive?
Silver versus Blaze, who will win? No!
I'd probably say Blaze, but, like, that would be an interesting fight.
I think Blaze, because of, like...
Because, like, Silver in a fair 1v1, it's like he loses to Sonic pretty much all the time, whereas Blaze is, like, implied in Sonic Rush to be, like, equal with Sonic.
Well, I mean, Sonic says he did technically defeat Sonic a few times, but other than that, but yeah. That's not giving him much of, like, a...
Let's have a cheeky little look for... I don't really know what to do, actually. I need a suit. I need suit tech gadgets for the health.
Thoughts on Sonic Racing Across Worlds?
I'm not a huge racing fan, but I mean, Team Sonic Racing was very disappointing. Like, it was basically just a Mario Kart clone. So I really hope that Cross Worlds is a decent racing game.
What's funny, I enjoyed that one more than Mario Kart 8 the last. I don't know why.
You prefer Team Sonic Racing to Mario Kart 8? That is interesting.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe it's just because, like, I have an easier time with the controls or something, I don't know. I just...
Maybe.
I mean...
I mean, if you do, that's fine. It is what it is.
Yeah. Basically, everything...
Who's more wasted recently, Blaze or Silver? Silver. Like, at the very least, Blaze had, like, 2 great games developed for her. It's like, Silver basically had 06 and Forces, and that's kind of like your lot, really. I don't think it's coincidence that 2 of the worst mainline Sonic games were the ones that had Silver in it.
Hello, I'll be right back. I think my breakfast is ready.
Everything, it was basically a debunk on the exact... Well, no, I don't give a shit about what the video says, because the video can be biased. I'm asking you to, like, tell me stuff that, like, that Archie Sonic has done. The Silver Curse, yeah, I know, right? Yeah, you know what? You've piqued my curiosity. Let's have a cheeky little look at the video. Is the stream, like, really glitchy, or is that just me? I think that could just be my monitor now that I think about it. For some reason, my second monitor is just really laggy whenever I stream. What is it? Infinite Best Sonic Villain. The best Sonic villain that everyone hates.
Sonic is one of those franchises that is divided by people who have different ideas on what makes it good. Some people like the comics that were written by the worst person alive. Some people like the mediocre 4Kids show that is only relevant because of nostalgia. Some people like...
Okay, his opinion is already invalid because he hates Sonic X. But you know what, let's try that again.
Sonic is one of those franchises that is divided by people who have different ideas. Sonic is one of those franchises that is divided by people who have different ideas on what makes it good. Some people like the comics that were written by the worst person alive. Some people like the mediocre 4Kids show that is only relevant because of nostalgia.
Yeah, that's bullshit.
People like the games that have a 30 on Metacritic because they were gaslit into thinking that they are good games. Some people also like to eat glue. People have their own reasons for liking stuff, and I'm not exactly an expert on the quality of Sonic lore in games, but one thing that is for certain is that people love to pretend that they are exactly like that, which is why the Sonic community on Twitter is the smelliest place imaginable. So, I'm not gonna act like the definitive voice for Sonic opinions. I'm gonna leave that job to those more annoying than me. I do think over time, people have grown a lot more forgiving of things in the franchise that did an insane amount of damage to the reputation of Sonic, whether it's specific characters or games altogether. And that's fine.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I mean, people definitely defend 06 a lot more nowadays than they do before, so I agree with that.
If anything, I'm happy that we moved past the era of gaming review YouTubers telling people what to think about Sonic games.
Look at this monstrosity! Do you hear that music?
Sonic Team says they've gone back to basics, but I still think they're full of
Now instead of doing that, they're just racist. So now that the dark ages of Sonic have ended and the franchise is at a level of popularity that hasn't been seen in literal decades, I want to take this opportunity to defend a character that is universally—
At least Blaze got the Waluigi treatment, yeah, true. But at the very least, she had a couple of great games. It's like, Silver is the definition of a participation award, but like, Blaze actually had some great games.
disliked by people both in the fandom and outside of it. They're from one of the worst games in the series, they haven't been seen since that game, and they don't even appear in the comics. That's right, today we're talking about the Duke of Soliana from Sonic the Hedgehog 2006. Actually, I like that, that's for another video. Instead, we'll talk about the second most hated character, Infinite.
We got trouble.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this game. It's called Sonic the Force Unleashed. That's not what it's called. Sonic Forces released November 7th, 2017 to a mixed reception from pretty much everyone. The game has only aged worse as time went on, and Sonic fans now consider it worse than Sonic 06. Guys, I get Sonic Forces is a bad game, but y'all are acting like this game kicked your dog. It's just a—
Honestly, I do agree that Sonic Forces is worse than Sonic 06. To be honest. Like, Sonic 06 actually has great things about it. Like, Sonic Forces has fuck all going for it. And it's like, I would rather have a bad game that's, like, enjoyable versus a boring game. To be honest. Like, there's nothing about Sonic Forces works. It's like, at the very least, I can list, like, a handful of legitimately great aspects about 06. Base 06, not Project 06. It's like, what's your opinion on Scorpion from PS4? Pretty good. He's alright. I don't, like, dislike him.
D-tier Sonic game at the end of the day. Saying that's worse than Sonic 06 is reaching, I'm not gonna lie. With this game came many controversial game design choices, like retconning classic Sonic being a younger version of Sonic, and instead making it so that he's Sonic from another dimension. Why is classic Sonic in this game? Oh, yo, look at that, they brought Silver back. This guy can't catch a break. He debuts in the worst game ever made, and then they give him a second chance by putting him in the second worst game they have ever made. Let's see. They brought back a lot of classic villains like Metal Sonic, Chaos, and Zavok.
You prefer Forces to most of the Mario 3D games? Yeah, I think that's bullshit. I think that there are a couple of 3D Mario games that are quite shit. Like, I don't really like Sunshine all that much, but like Galaxy and Odyssey, like solo Forces, I'd honestly say neg diff.
What, you guys don't remember Zavik? He's from the hit game, Sonic Lost World. Oh, jeez. You know what? Obviously, this game relied on dangling the nostalgia keys in front of fans' faces, hoping it would work. I don't blame them for doing so, it usually does. But Sonic Forces didn't perform well, and the only thing worth noting about it is that it leads to the existence of the IDW comics. And also the Twink Wolf. But one character from this game that I want to talk about in depth is the main villain, Infinite the Jackal.
The best Sonic villain everyone hates. Let's see how this goes.
Hey, you guys want to know something that's funny, kind of cool? Jackals in real life eat hedgehogs. That's how you know he's a good villain. Okay, where to begin? Infinite is one of the most interesting villains in the entire Sonic franchise.
Literally one of the most boring villains in the entire Sonic franchise. Like in the base game, he's just a shit Metal Sonic. And with the DLC and the comic tie-ins, he's the most laughable joke in the entire series. Shadow whooped his ass one time, called him weak, and that made him a supervillain. Like, he's unironically, like, more pathetic than some of the people I've dealt with in schools.
I realize that I'm the first person to say that sentence.
Galaxy is overrated, but I agree with Odyssey. I mean, Galaxy is still way better than Forces. Like, I'm willing to die on that hill. And I'm not even that big of a Mario lover. But it's like, I really like Galaxy, at least. Hey, Banco, how you doing?
In probably a year.
In my opinion, Mario one-shots Sonic. Oh, it's you again. No. Mario would lose to Sonic, especially at, like, the high tiers.
But I still think it's true. When Sonic Forces was released, one of the main complaints people had with the game was Infinite. They called him edgy, broody, bland, dark. Wait, I'm reading the complaints people had with Shadow back in 2010. Hang on. Oh, here we go. One of the main complaints people had with Infinite was that he was edgy, broody, bland, and dark. But revisiting his character made me realize that Infinite is actually the best part of Sonic The Force Awakens.
Not even remotely close. Like, I think Shadow... I don't even know what the best thing about this game is. But, like... Man, like, Infinite has fuck all. I'm gonna hear him out, but Infinite literally has nothing going for him.
That's also not the name of the game. The game is nothing to write home about, but it makes me upset that a character like Infinite isn't brought back and instead only gets a cameo in mobile games. He does technically die at the end of the game. Sorry, spoilers for the 2 people on Earth who care about Sonic Forces spoilers. His death is highly...
Been doing a lot of thinking and I don't want to talk about it. Okay, well, we're here if you need it.
Debatable though, especially since he is confirmed to still be alive in official Sonic channel art and Twitter takeovers. Look, all I'm saying is that if Eggman can survive all the shit he goes through, then Infinite can survive being trapped in a ring pop. Who even is Infinite? Nobody asked that question, but I'm gonna answer it anyways. Infinite was originally known as Zero. Get it? Zero to Infinity? That's funny. I can't believe this game didn't sell well. He was the leader of a mercenary group known as the Jackal Squad. Him and his gang quickly gained a notoriety for raiding and profiting off bounties. Zero would gain the nickname the Ultimate Mercenary, and his squad members Ace, Spade, Jade, and Quatre are some of his closest friends who play an important role in the overall character arc Infinite has in Sonic Forces. Okay, I was lying. These are the only official renders of these characters and they don't even appear in the game. These aren't even their real names. They don't have official names. I just named them off the top of my head. These characters do appear in the Rise of Infinite comic, but only briefly. In the comic, Zero and his Jackal Squad try to raid Eggman's base in the Arsenal Pyramid, hoping to steal his equipment to fetch a profit. This plan ultimately fails as Eggman uses the power of his newly acquired Phantom Ruby to overwhelm the squad and essentially force them to become his minions. Zero tries to strike down Eggman, but ends up striking the Phantom Ruby instead, which shows him a vision of total anarchy at the hands of Eggman. It's implied that the Phantom Ruby ended up brainwashing Zero, and is why he is quick to join forces with Eggman without any hesitation. And I'm totally not saying this to excuse poor writing. At this point, it's become—
Look, it literally is poor writing. Like, I don't really know what to... I don't really know what to say. Like, he literally tries raiding Eggman's shit, sees one vision of something that the Phantom Ruby promises, and instantly becomes a villain. Like, I don't find that interesting at all. Like, it just makes him a very uninteresting villain. Like, it would be interesting if, like, he at the very least put up, like, a resistance against what the Ruby was promising him. And maybe, like, offering some depth to his background. Like, saying how, oh, he steals because, I don't know, to provide for his family or some shit. But it's like... None of that, to my knowledge, happens. He's just the most boring fucker.
Clear that Eggman is using the Phantom Ruby to manipulate Zero and by extension the Jackal Squad. When they are instructed to guard his facility in Mystic Jungle, they come into contact with Shadow the Hedgehog. Shadow attacks the facility and obliterates the Jackal Squad, with only Zero surviving the encounter. I cannot stress this enough. Shadow literally kills the Jackal Squad. I repeat, Shadow the Hedgehog kills 4 people! I know they use language like defeats or destroys because this is a E10 game, but the Jackal Squad is never seen again, and Zero is shown to be clearly distraught from the events that take place. Shadow killed them. If you're keeping track, you're not, I am. I'm pretty sure this is the only time in the series where Shadow has a confirmed Mobian kill count.
What's your opinion on Destroyer? I'm not really a huge Godzilla fan, I'm gonna be real. Like, I'm gonna be real, I'm kinda jaded towards Godzilla fanboys, because I debated quite a lot of them back in the day, and it was just pure pain.
Oh shoot, I have to explain what Mobians are? Okay. Mobians are a race of humanoids that take the form of anthropomorphic animals, entities who...
The fuck is that? Can we actually, like... Oh.
The feat, along with the death of his friends, would only eat away at his deteriorating mental state. Having already been under the influence of the Phantom Ruby, he agrees to be infused by a replica of it. After undergoing numerous experiments, Zero would abandon his name and become infinite. With this newfound power and identity, he makes his presence known by killing E123 Omega. Okay, I say kill, but like Omega has been rebuilt before, and I doubt that anything is going to permanently put him out of commission. This encounter leads to the reunion of Infinite and Shadow. However, when Infinite expects Shadow to remember him, he doesn't.
A long-awaited reunion, and still you spout such nonsense. I am Infinite. You say you do not know me, and yet I remember you so very well. To you, it was simply another in a long list of Eggmen.
It's like, the issue with this is the way he's talking reminds me of Mephiles. Where it's like, he remembers Shadow because of what Shadow did to him in the past, but present Shadow has yet to go to the past to stop Mephiles, so Shadow has no recollection of him. Like, they literally do Mephiles over again, but it's just less interesting. Like, at the very least with 06, there's a degree of payoff where it's like, okay, when Shadow unintentionally releases Mephiles at the start of at the end of Kingdom Valley, there's a degree of mystery to him, and then when Shadow and Silver go back to the past during the events of Aquatic Base, it's like a degree of payoff. It's like, oh right, so that's why he was mad at Shadow at the start of the game, and that's why he's like fixated on Shadow throughout, you know, Flame Core and Dusty Desert. But with this, there's literally none of that. It's like, he just gets his ass kicked once and just has a personal grudge against Shadow for the rest of time. Like, it's much more boring. And I'd also point out as well that none of this shit that he's mentioning is in the game. Like, him being, like, mind-controlled or what have you, like, it's not in the game. Like, in the game, he gets his ass kicked once and then suddenly becomes a villain. Like, the way they handled it is so fucking terrible.
Bases you tore down without a second thought. I've only become what I am because
I find it funny that Infinite has a grudge against Sonic, even though Shadow was the one who fucking humiliated him. Yeah, it's just fucking stupid.
Of you, yet you don't remember. But I suppose that's the way it goes. It simply means that the old me was too weak. Too pathetic to remember. And now you've become nothing more than an insect.
Okay, I'm gonna pause here, and I'm gonna talk about this, because I see this brought up a lot when people criticize Infinite's character. A lot of people make fun of the fact that Infinite unsuccessfully tries to make Shadow remember who he is, but also don't understand a lot of different factors at play here. Firstly, Shadow faces dozens of enemies every single day. It's already established that he has zero remorse or second thought with his actions, and him killing the Jackal Squad.
That is not fucking true. Like, that is blatantly not true. So, he's saying, like, oh, Shadow just kills, like, many fucking people during the events of Shadow the Hedgehog. Oh yeah, you know the game where, like, he can become a villain if he really wants to? And the game that, funnily enough, it ends with, like, the game ends with him being a hero. And in the very next game, Shadow puts all of his anger behind him. Hey, Banco, thanks for the super chat.
Are you starting to understand why I hate Infinite?
I mean, I always hated Infinite. I thought he was a pathetic villain. But it's like, in Sonic 06, the very next game, Shadow has put all of his anger behind him. He's working for Gun, the organization that not only killed Maria and Gerald Robotnik, which were the two humans that he cared the most about, but also the organization that hunted him down during the events of Adventure 2 and Shadow the Hedgehog. He's put all of his anger in the past, and it doesn't control him anymore, which is something that we literally see in Sonic 06 when he confronts Mephiles. And this is the reason, by the way, that Shadow Generations' story is so fucking shit, because they retread an element that was put firmly in the past. So for him to say, oh, Shadow has always just been a mindless killing machine, fucking slaughters children like fucking Anakin does in Revenge of the Sith, it's like, no, that's blatantly not true. Like, Shadow hasn't been that guy for 20 years now. And even in Sonic Adventure 2, he wasn't like a mindless villain. Like, he clearly had, like, good intentions, you know, to get justice. It's just he went about it the wrong way. It's like, Shadow has never been, like, a flat-out merciless killing machine. The only time he is in Shadow the Hedgehog in the non-canon endings. So, the idea that he's using Shadow the Hedgehog... Again, I'll rewind, just so you know I'm not taking it out of context.
More than an insect.
Okay, I'm gonna pause here, and I'm gonna talk about this, because I see this brought up a lot when people criticize Infinite's character. A lot of people make fun of the fact that Infinite unsuccessfully tries to make Shadow remember who he is, but also don't understand a lot of different factors at play here. Firstly, Shadow faces dozens of enemies every single day. It's already established that he has zero remorse or second thought with his actions, and
he has zero remorse or second thoughts about his actions. Does that sound like Shadow at all? The same Shadow who literally had remorse and regret for his actions in the final battle of Adventure 2? Like, does this sound like Shadow at all? Like, I don't even know.
Him killing the Jackal Squad and injuring Zero was just another Tuesday for him. I think this says a lot more about Shadow's character.
And also, I feel like that's sufficient proof that Shadow doesn't kill the Jackal Squad, since he literally lets a member of the Jackal Squad survive. Like, I don't know why he's portraying Shadow as just this mindless killing machine.
Than it does Infinite's. Shadow may not remember Infinite, but Infinite remembers Shadow. And that's really what matters. It's meant to showcase how Shadow's actions have consequences. What Shadow did ruined the life of Zero, so much to a point where he would essentially corrupt himself in order to become Infinite, leaving...
I mean, what did Shadow do, though? Like, Shadow just whooped his ass because he was actively committing criminal acts. Like, I don't even know what to say. It's like, he brought this on himself because of his life as a criminal. It's like...
no trace of his old self behind. Also, yes, I am running with the theory that Zero and Infinite are two separate people. He's the Darth Vader of the Sonic universe.
He literally fucking isn't. Like, how? He is just blatantly headcanoning all of this. How is Infinite and Zero two different people? Like, he is the most pathetic, petty villain throughout the entire story. It's like, he bullies the fucking Avatar, likely because of an inferiority complex. It's like, he bullies Sonic for, like, no reason, because Sonic did fuck all to him. It's like... I just don't get it.
The second thing people don't take into consideration with this interaction, look at the difference.
Some test of Archie Sonic was able to run across the entire multiverse in one day. That's not impressive compared to Flash. Is the author of his own comic. Fairly certain that's also not impressive.
Wait, what's going
Friends
on?
of these two.
We're looking at a we're looking at a video of apparently Mephiles is a good Sonic villain.
I mean, not really.
I mean, yeah, no shit. Alright.
Well, because, like, I think the only thing that you could argue that makes him a good villain is, like, he was able to kind of like manipulate everybody, but then it's just like when you get to the last story, he just kills Sonic himself, and it's like, well, why the fuck didn't he just
No,
do that?
no, we're talking about Infinite, not Mephiles.
Oh. Oh, you said Mephiles,
I don't blame-
so that's why I was confused.
Oh, my bad.
Shadow for not recognizing him. I still find it odd that people blame every poor writing
Infinite's
decision
not
in
a
Sonic
good
Forces
villain at
on
all.
Infinite when they either aren't bad
He's
writing
just the
decisions
generic.
or arguments you
I
can make
want,
for Shadow
I
as well.
want to be powerful
There you go.
because I got my ass handed to me by Shadow.
Yeah, we're watching the video, so
Consideration with this interaction. Look at the difference of these two.
it's all good.
I don't blame Shadow for not recognizing him. I still find it odd that people blame every poor writing decision in Sonic Forces on Infinite when they either aren't bad writing decisions or arguments you can make for Shadow as well. Infinite would then trap Shadow in a fake
Well, I'm curious as to see what he says about that.
reality before making his escape. When we see him again, he makes his presence known to Sonic while Eggman attacks the city. He uses his powers to create clones of past Sonic villains, including a clone of Shadow, which he then uses to overwhelm and defeat Sonic. Yeah, Infinite actually defeats Sonic. After this happens, he captures and holds him prisoner aboard the Death Egg, where he is tortured for 6 months straight. Saying all this out loud is making me realize how dark of a concept Sonic Forces is. Like, in execution, it's poor as hell, but the idea of Sonic being captured and then tortured for half a year is really morbid for a kid's game. You couldn't really tell if Sonic was being tortured. His reaction to all of it is mild inconvenience, like he has the reaction of someone witnessing their parking spot being stolen. Anyways, while Sonic is kept prisoner, the Eggman Empire succeeds in their conquest to take over the world.
Okay,
The rest of the
something I
gang
wanna
form a
point out,
resistance, only
Yo, what's up?
Sonic Forces isn't really all that dark.
Yeah, like, Sonic Forces has, like, conceptually a dark premise, but it's, like, as lighthearted as Colors and Lost World, so it's like, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
For Infinite
it's
to complete...
No.
And this is another thing that I think 06 does better. Like, at the very least, 06's tone is consistent throughout the entire game.
Obliterate an entire army of them and leave only one alive to torment, proving his dominance as a force to be reckoned with. The only reason he lets Gadget live is so that he can relish in his fear. His tactic does not rest at destruction and mass murder. Unlike other Sonic villains, he has a fixation over mental torture and mind games, which can prove as a detriment for him in the long run. In my honest opinion, this makes him more terrifying. Okay, to make it clear of just how powerful Infinite is, let's go ahead and tally up his victories over the course of Sonic Forces. Kills E123 Omega, defeats Sonic the Hedgehog and tortures him for 6 months, kills an army of resistant soldiers, takes over 99% of the world with the help of Eggman, defeats Silver the Hedgehog, defeats Sonic the Hedgehog again, created a gravity shift that would result in hundreds of casualties, dozens of other war crimes committed off-screen. So let's go ahead and round up Infinite's kill count to, I don't know, a f***tillion. And yet, pretty much his entire reputation among the fanbase is that he is a weakling, and the only evidence shown of that is Zero's mental breakdown. But
well, no, I think the issue with that,
a gravity shift that would result in hundreds of casualties, dozens of other...
Well, it's like, the issue with this is, like, he has so many impressive feats, yet he's a complete fucking idiot. It's like,
yeah.
It's like, he kills Omega, it's like, at best, he like, puts Omega out of commission for a while, but then he's fixed by the end of the game. So it's like, why doesn't he just trap him in null space so that, like, Tails can't fucking save him?
You know, you think...
Hey, Bankai, thank you for the donation. Bear me a sec.
I like that we both agree that
Infinite's a shit villain, 100%. That's like... I think the issue with Infinite is either he's a complete fucking idiot or Sonic has ridiculous plot armor. Because it's like, okay, defeat Sonic for mums. It's like, Sonic just magically escapes. Like, to this day, I'm still not sure how Sonic escapes. Like, his handcuffs just disappear and he just fucking leaves. It's like, he defeats Sonic again, but somehow doesn't want to kill him. It's like, mate, he escaped. You yourself said in the boss fight he's more powerful than, like, he ever was before, and you still let him live. It's like, why don't you kill him? It's like, he's either the biggest idiot or Sonic has ridiculous plot armor. Like, pick your fucking poison.
The war crimes...
I think Infinite went after Shadow for not not only for losing to him, but didn't Shadow kill his entire Jackal squad? Considering the fact that Shadow lets Infinite live, I very much doubt he killed the Jackal squad. I think that's just headcanon. Like, there's no proof saying that Shadow killed the Jackal squad. Hey, Katana, hello.
Committed off screen. So let's go ahead and round up Infinite's kill count to, I don't know, a tillion. And yet pretty much his entire reputation among the fanbase is that he is a weakling. And the only evidence shown of that...
To be fair, when you think someone's dead, you think that's it, no more is needed? No. Have you not seen the villains in this game? And, like, this story? Like, Mephiles literally does kill Sonic. Like, the difference with other villains is either... Like, with Mephiles, for example, there's no way on God's green earth he would have known that they would have got the Chaos Emeralds to revive Sonic. And the same way with Eggman, it's like, when he ejects Sonic out into space at, like, the end of at the start of Sonic Unleashed, it's like, he has no way of knowing that Sonic can restore that shit. Because, like, it's only, like, there's only after a series of events in the game that Sonic, like... He gets Professor Pickle back from Eggman. He gets the Gaia manuscripts back. They start fixing the Earth. It's like, but the difference with Infinite is he literally has Sonic by the balls at multiple points in the story, and he's just like, all right, no, I can't be asked to kill you. He literally says, I cannot be bothered to kill you. You're not worth the effort to finish off. It's like, at that point, that is Infinite being stupid, or Sonic having plot armor. And regardless, it damages the game's writing.
You know...
There's no proof the Jackal Squad is alive. There's no proof that Shadow killed them either. And I would like to think that Shadow did let them live, considering he let Infinite live.
Something I do want to point out is, pardon my language, but, like, I think it's actually retarded that, like...
If you're gonna say pardon your language, maybe don't say that word on stream.
Oh. Sorry.
Yeah, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, like, I think it's stupider that, like, okay, so you beat Sonic, but you're like, hey, that black and red hedgehog over there that I have a vendetta against, who's, like, almost on the same level as Sonic, certainly he couldn't pose a threat to me, so I should just leave him alone.
I don't know, I just think it's stupid. But...
Well, I think it's just stupider that it's just, like, why not go after, like, Shadow and Silver, you know, potentially, like, some of the people who would be capable of stopping you.
Eggman states the Jackal Squad was destroyed, and considering we don't see them for the rest of the story, it's likely Shadow did kill them. If that's the case, then I think it's stupid that Shadow didn't kill Infinite.
Yeah.
To be honest. If he's gonna kill 4 of the 5 members, why didn't he kill, like, all 5 of them? So, like, either way, it's still shit writing, regardless. In your opinion, who's the best Sonic villain? Eggman, no diff. The series, like, Eggman is literally the best character in the whole series, don't at me.
That is Zero's mental breakdown. But
yeah,
again,
also,
as
I feel like a question that I have is, like, the whole Mephiles thing that you brought up. I'm actually kind of curious, like, did they ever explain how it is that the Chaos Emeralds are still a thing if, like, technically Mephiles used them to fuse with Iblis? So shouldn't that mean that, like, Solaris has the, like, the
I don't fucking know. I don't think it's ever explained. The Chaos Emeralds just do that. Well, your thoughts on Sonic vs. Flash change if Sonic beats all the Flashes ops and beats him in a race? No, because crossovers 90% of the time aren't canon. So, it wouldn't change my... Like, I don't think that Batman could beat Hulk just because he beat Hulk in a crossover. Like, to be honest. Like, crossovers generally aren't canon. And they can also get retconned, so...
Before, Infinite and Zero are clearly
also,
two different
like
people. I know it's just a theory,
like,
and I'm probably
here,
the only person in existence who will defend this character to such a high degree, but the story makes a lot more sense if you take that into consideration.
Okay, so the story makes a lot more sense if you add a load of shit to it that weren't in the story to begin with. The story becomes a lot better when you use headcanon to fix plot holes. Okay, fantastic argument.
Actions driven by greed.
They're clearly the same fucking character. Like, Infinite remembers Shadow because of what happened to Zero. Like, it's... I hate this video already.
Over his fallen squad is what basically leads...
Zero? I thought Infinite's name was Zero. And then
No, but no. The point is he's making the argument that they're two separate people when they're not. They're clearly the same fucking guy. Because like, it's not like Jekyll and Hyde, no pun intended, or Jackal and Hyde. I should have said that would have been funnier. It's like, it's clearly the same fucking person. Like the game never once proves that they're not the same person.
To him committing rated E10 plus suicide and sacrificing his decaying mental state and giving into the corruption of the Phantom Ruby, thus becoming infinite. You see how that makes a lot more sense of a backstory than saying Shadow bullied him, so he became evil.
That literally is what happened though. Like Shadow whooped his ass, he became evil. It's like, and the issue with this is that like, if you make the argument that, because the Phantom Ruby is also very inconsistent, where it's like, there's some sources that say that Eggman created the Phantom Ruby, and then there's other sources where he literally finds the Phantom Ruby on his fucking doorstep of all things. So it's like, if the Phantom Ruby corrupts him, it stands to reason that he would be more robotic if, like, Eggman created it. But it's like, they're also very inconsistent with that entire message in Sonic Forces, because throughout the entire main game, it's implied by pretty much every character that Infinite is a robot. Like, they say that multiple times. So this is where Eggman built Infinite. It's like, they clearly imply that he's a robot, and Infinite's dialogue also suggests that he's a robot, when he says shit like, impossible, you've surpassed your previous data. It's like, the main game implies he's a robot, which is clearly not the truth. So it's like, the game is ridiculously inconsistent with this character and who he's supposed to be, and they're also inconsistent with the Phantom Ruby and how it was created and what it does.
I'd also like to point out, if Infinite needs to wait for, like, the Phantom Ruby to, like, recharge, I feel like that is also, like, yeah, he is a robot. Like, he has to wait for it to recharge before he can use it. Because you'd think that, like, if he's just a normal person, he could just spam it endlessly without, like, the disregard for, like, having to wait for it.
Yeah, my goodness, this game has such terrible writing.
As if it wasn't already a...
I'd honestly go on record and saying that this game has worse writing than 06.
I'd agree.
Like, this game's writing is actually a joke. Like, the main villain just does not make sense in the slightest.
Like, at least with 06, they actually, like, kept with the, like, with a pretty consistent tone, and they had, like, a pretty consistent villain. Who actually, I'd like to point out, like, actually did shit to, like, fuck with Sonic and the rest of the cast, as opposed to Infinite, who didn't do anything.
Like, he manipulates the characters, he basically pulls strings, he actually does kill Sonic, and it's like, it's like, okay, Infinite, takes over like 99% of the world or what have you. When Mephiles merges with Iblis to become Solaris, he literally causes the end of like all the timelines. He would've, like, he literally did win. Like, until they resurrected Sonic, at least.
Yeah, like, he erased all of existence. And it's like...
Like, technically, Mephiles won. Like, until they became Super, at least. But anyways, let's just continue with this.
That he was evil to begin with? Okay, let's take a step back for a second and consider...
Who's smarter, Tails or Eggman? Eggman.
Consider another argument people have against Infinite. If he becomes who he is because of Shadow killing his friends, then why is he not going after Shadow and instead going after Sonic? Probably because Infinite believes in eye for an eye. Shadow killed Infinite's friends, so the best case for revenge would be for Infinite to kill Shadow's friends. And boyfriend. This doesn't...
I mean, that's not even the case, though. Like, again, that's just headcanon, because it's like, the very first thing that Infinite does in the game, canonically, is he goes after Shadow and he traps him in, like, the equivalent of null space. And then Shadow breaks free, and Infinite is just like, alright, fuck you then, you broke free, I'm gonna go after Sonic. It's like, what he is saying literally isn't true. And again, he doesn't even make the effort to, like, try fight Shadow. It's like, he traps Shadow in I keep saying cyberspace. He traps him in null space, Shadow breaks free, and then Infinite's just like, alright, screw you then, I'm gonna go after Sonic. Like, that is literally what happens. And it's so dumb.
Wait, was it null space? I thought it was like a...
He traps him in... He traps him in, like, the, hold on. Bear with me a sec, I'll just double check. I don't think it is null space, but it's something very similar. Bear with me.
Because I know he's in Green Hill Zone when that happens.
Story. Yeah. I can't remember what level it is. Bear me a sec. Yeah, he traps him in virtual reality. Yeah, it's not null space.
Yeah.
It's virtual reality he traps him in, which, I mean, may as well be fucking null space, like, potato.
Yeah.
Tails or Eggman is kind of weird. I feel like Eggman just is more intelligent, like, on average. Like, to be honest.
I could see them being even.
It's like, in Adventure 2, they're, like, rivals, but, like, Eggman just has... I feel like Eggman is more, like, devious and manipulative than Tails. It's like Tails is a bit, like, naive kind of thing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Eggman in Frontiers, he did say Tails has the potential. Yeah, I feel like that's the case. It's mainly his youth and his, like, naivety and what have you. Hey, Alex, how you doing? We're just looking at someone claiming that Infinite is the best Sonic villain, and oh dear, it's not looking good. The End versus Infinite, the End, no diff.
Explain why Infinite would spare Sonic's life after defeating him a second time, but just roll with it, okay? They're gonna keep the game PG.
Okay, so he just contradicts his entire narrative. Like, oh, Shadow killed his friends, therefore Infinite's gonna kill his friends, but then he has multiple opportunities to kill his friends and he just lets them live because reasons. It's like, alright. Like, this is literally the one person on the internet trying to defend Infinite and he can't do it.
Also,
that speaks volumes.
Ignore the fact that Sonic has been killed in the past. Okay, you know what? Maybe this part of the theory doesn't hold a lot of weight. You want to know what does hold a lot of weight?
Your opinion has as much weight as sunlight.
Wait.
Like, for fuck's sake, Infinite, like, I could do a better version of Infinite. Like,
I think it speaks volumes as to how bad Infinite is that, like, the one guy on the internet who, like, is trying to defend him struggles to do it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't fucking know. This is ridiculous.
Infinite has a lot...
Honestly, I'm tempted to make my own video on Infinite at this point.
More interest in breaking people mentally the same way he was broken mentally.
As a favorite villain or the best villain? No, the title of the video is the best Sonic villain that everyone hates. So he's saying that, like, objectively he's good, which is just blatantly wrong.
Mass killing resistance soldiers and civilians is more so him just eliminating roadblocks in his way, but I still do believe he wants to ultimately kill Sonic and his friends in the end. He just wants to play with them first. That sounded wrong. He just wants to torture them first. I think what Shadow did to Zero is the catalyst to...
But it's like, if he wants to... Even if he wants to torture the characters before he, like, kills them, he only does it to the Avatar. Like, he doesn't torture Sonic at all. It's like, at the end of Mystic Jungle, he could, like, when he's beaten Sonic, he could trap Sonic in, like, virtual reality and, like, fuck with him mentally. It's like, he doesn't do that, he just leaves. So it's like...
Okay, wait. Sorry, you go.
Yeah, so, like, literally... Like, again, he could mentally fuck with Silver, but he doesn't do that. He just fights him like how Sonic would fight Shadow. Like... again, instead of killing the entire resistance, he could mentally fuck with them. It's like, but no, he's just slaughtering people by the dozen. It's like, he's just so freaking inconsistent, like, with this guy's defenses. Thank you for congratulating me on the 13k subs, by the way. And thank you guys for getting me here.
He legitimately could, like, mentally fuck with Knuckles by using, like, the fucking, like, Echidna clan and even Tikal, but he doesn't do that.
Yeah, he could fuck with Knuckles and try, like, make him betray Sonic, because they've been, like, adversaries in the past. But also, it's like, he could do so many things. It's like, he could make Shadow believe that he could bring Maria back. It's like, he could do so many things with his power, and he just doesn't do it. It's like, yes, I understand that Mephiles. I understand that Infinite would have no knowledge of these events, but Eggman would. Like, they could like, his power is broken. Like, the sky... It's like Doctor Strange. Like, the sky is the limit with all of the things he can do, and he just doesn't do anything with it.
Yeah. Also, it's Eclipse Odyssey, in the chat. I don't think Infinite is above Solaris. I think, like, Solaris could destroy him.
Rift, if you reach 15k, we should do a Cuphead stream. Bro, that'll be annoying, but maybe. He did fuck with Shadow once, but he basically did nothing. Well, no, but, like, the issue with that is that he tried fucking with Shadow, and then as soon as Shadow broke free, he just left. It's like, okay, why would you not just fight Shadow? It's like, what, you don't try fight Shadow, you just send him into virtual reality. Shadow breaks free, and then Infinite is just like, alright, fuck you, then I'm gonna go after Sonic. Like, it just... I don't get it. Shade is in VC. Yeah, Shade's in VC. But it's like, the issue with his power is, like, his power level and his, like, abilities are insane. But, like, he just doesn't take advantage of any of it.
The events of Sonic Forces, and because people tend to judge Infinite through the context of a version of Sonic Forces that only exists in their head, they act as though Infinite started this blood-hungry revenge because Shadow said mean things about him on Twitter. But the actual—
I mean, that is literally what happens in the game. Like, that is literally what happens in the game. Like, I don't care about tie-in comics. Like, if you play... Like, this is the thing. You shouldn't have to rely on external media to justify the quality of writing in another piece of media. Like, you shouldn't have to do that. Like, you should be able to look at... Like, let me put it to you this way. The Avengers. You should not have to look at the first Iron Man film to defend the writing for the first Avengers. That shouldn't happen. Like, just because they are in the same series, you shouldn't need one to prop up the other. And this is the same reason why I think Endgame is a pretty bad Avengers film. Because Endgame on its own doesn't hold up. It needs other films as, like, little pillars to prop Endgame like on a pedestal. That's not good. So, them saying that, like, oh, you guys hate Infinite's writing because you only played the game. It's like, okay, and? Yes, we did play the game. You played the game. So, like, you're agreeing that the writing in the game is subpar, which is why you need the external comics and the tie-in material to justify him as a villain. But the issue with that is that, yes, the comics give him additional context, but they also contradict what's in the game. Because the comics prove that, oh, he was just a normal animal like Sonic, he got the Phantom Ruby or what have you, but in the game, they consistently imply that he's a robot. Until the Shadow DLC. So it's like, the game and the DLC and the comics all contradict each other. So it's like, you're trying to, like, it's kind of like the concept of a Hydra. It's like, they are cutting off one problem, but adding two new ones. That's how I view Infinite. Like, in the base game, he does not work. So they try fixing him, but create more issues in the process. That is literally Infinite's writing in a nutshell.
The actual reality is that Shadow is a remorseless killer who took the lives of people who were of zero threat to him, and then he expected no consequences for
Can I join the call? Do you have a disagreement? The game contradicts each other. Yeah, like, all of the freaking tie-in media, like, contradicts each other. That's kind of iffy because to defend something you need context. Well, all of the context should be in the media that you're defending. Like, that's the point. It's like, I shouldn't need to, like, know what happens in... I don't even know, like, a good example. It's like, I think that, like, Avengers Endgame is a good example for me. It's like, that film, it feels like you have to watch 20 other films in order to understand what's going on. And that's not an issue that is present in Infinity War. Even though they are very similar films, Infinity War could be your first MCU film, and it would make total sense. Because they establish what's going on, they establish the villain, they establish every main character, they establish everything. Endgame doesn't. You need to watch a ton of other films to get what happens in Endgame. But with Infinity War, you don't have to do that. Now, yes, Infinity War would be better if you watch the other films, but you don't need to watch the other films to understand what's going on in that film. That is the difference. Does that make sense? Like, that's where I'm at with it. It's like, I agree that the context should make the writing in a piece of media better, but you shouldn't have to rely on the context to make the writing good. That's where I'm at. Like, that's what I feel.
Doing so, which would only come back to bite him in the ass when Infinite took his friends away from him as well. And Shadow doesn't even remember who Infinite is because of how meaningless his encounter with him was in his eyes. Either that or he just forgot, and hey, it wouldn't be the first time this emo boy lost his memory. Don't get it twisted. I love Shadow. He's amazing. I want to marry him. I want to kiss him. But a pretty common thing I notice when people criticize Infinite's character is that they judge him by comparing him to Shadow, which doesn't work in the slightest. Comparing...
When has anyone done that? Like, when has people compared Infinite to Shadow? Like, Shadow is, like, a way better villain than Infinite will ever be. And he wasn't even a fucking villain. Like, he was probably, like... He was a villain in, like, half of one game. Corey, what's your disagreement, by the way? If you at me in, If you at me in general chat, I'll get you in the call. I agree with you, the context should remain in one media, but we can't virtually expect them to force it all in when Sega's consistently rushed them. I mean, I think that we should expect that. It's like... I feel like we should expect better writing. And if Sega is, like, fucking over its game developers because of, like, crunch time, I think that's their problem. Like, I think that we as... I'm new to Discord. That's fine. Just, what's your name in general chat? I'll get you in. Fucking hell, we've got quite a few people that just joined. Yeah, what's your, name in Discord? I'll get you in. Do I need to add you to talk to you? No, just what's your account and then I'll bring you in.
Any character to Shadow, one of the most overpowered characters in the entire franchise, is always going to be unfair, and I think people know this. Of course, if...
Like Cypher, no worries. Okay, I think this is you. I think I invited you. You should be able to join.
Infinite is going to fall short when it comes to the ultimate life form. Okay, what's a good reference I can make? Hang on.
It's like, I actually think this is a terrible point, because it's like, if Infinite isn't as good as a villain from like almost 20 years ago, I think that's a problem. Like, they should make like better, They should endeavor to make better villains. It's like, if Infinite isn't better than a villain from over 17 years ago, I think that is a problem. But anyway. Hello, you are on the line. What is your disagreement?
Hello, can y'all hear me?
I can indeed hear you. What is your disagreement?
Alright, well first I need to establish what your opinion is before we start. Do you think Endgame or Infinity War is better?
I think Infinity War is a much better film than Endgame. Like, I think Endgame is a film... Endgame for me is like Spider-Man No Way Home, where it gets worse the more you watch it. Like, the first time I watched Endgame, it was a wet dream, but then after that, I just started disliking it more and more, and I prefer Infinity War to it.
Oh, well then that's not going to work, because I also think Infinity War is better.
Yeah.
I think what I disagree with is this idea that Tom Holland is not the best live-action Spider-Man.
Okay, what are your opinions on Tom Holland's Spider-Man, then? What are your opinions on Tom Holland's Spider-Man? Are you here?
Okay, sorry, I was on the line with someone else.
Okay, what's your opinion on Tom Holland's Spider-Man?
Well, it agrees with some of the arguments what you said. I think when it comes to overall personality, he's definitely one of the better takes on the characters, but I disagree with the idea that he is character assassinated in certain parts of his movies.
Okay, which which examples do you want to go over? Like, you have specific ones, or should we go film by film?
I think I would start with Homecoming.
Okay. What issues do you have with Homecoming? Kevin, we'll get you in afterwards, dude. If you at me in general chat, I'll get you in after.
Well, I kind of need something to bounce off of, so why don't you give me your thoughts on Homecoming first?
So the main issue, I think Homecoming, he's like the best of any of his own solo films. I think because like he's perfectly just he's just average in Homecoming, like he's all right. The main issues that I have with him in Homecoming is I think that at times he's a little bit nerfed, and I also think that there's not as many consequences for his actions as there likely should be. But it's mostly in Far From Home and No Way Home where I have like major issues with his character.
So I think we both agree. I'm just going to go on a side tangent for a minute. I think we both agree that Homecoming's probably the best written movie of the entire MCU home trilogy, right?
I mean, that's not exactly a high bar to get over, but yes, I do think it's like the best written.
Okay, but to address your point about Peter being nerfed, I would argue that it's not so much about him being nerfed. It's about if you remember certain details from, this is his first movie in the MCU after his Civil War appearance. I think what the writers and the director was trying to do is convey this idea that some of the things that Peter does may seem like he's nerfed, but it's really just lack of an experience. Like, when you're a veteran Spider-Man, yeah, he's not going to make as many mistakes compared to the rookies. Like, this Spider-Man, I would say, is still considered a rookie. So, of course, he's not going to know how to handle certain situations at best at all times. There are times where it is questionable, but I think you can mostly excuse it for the fact that this is a rookie Spider-Man.
The issue with that is, even though he's a rookie Spider-Man, it's like we see in Civil War that he is like he's able to do shit that his Homecoming self blatantly can't do. Like, to me, it makes it makes no sense that in Homecoming, that in Civil War he can 1v2 Bucky and Falcon. Yet in Homecoming, he gets his ass kicked by Shocker. Like, that to me makes no sense. And I'm not referring to Shocker when he's in the regular clothes. I'm referring to, when they're chasing him in the van. It makes no sense that he gets his ass whooped by that version of Shocker. When he can, 1v2 Winter Soldier and Falcon.
May I also add that the fact that, technically Tom Holland Spider-Man is not technically inexperienced. Like, he already has experience already during Civil War, because when Tony Stark went to go look for him or whatever, he showed different videos of him being Spider-Man for a past few months and everything like that. So I feel like that's a little bit contradictory in saying, well, he's inexperienced when we already seen that he has technically already have experience, especially when fighting against the some of the Avengers in Civil War.
But I don't even think he's inexperienced. I think he's just nerfed power wise. I
wouldn't even just say that. It's even if you wanted to make the argument he's inexperienced, I would just simply say, compared to any other Spider-Man that has less experience, the Spider-Man's 8 months in, compared to say Ultimate or Spectacular, where they're a few months in, not even as far as MCU, and they're more competent than him.
But
also,
yeah, go on. What do you have to say?
Something else I want to point out to add on to Riff's point, he can this is also the other thing, he can 2v1 the Winter Soldier and Falcon, but he can't break free of, Vulture's grip on his foot when, Vulture's carrying him into the air.
But yeah,
he can't break free of that, yet he can fight, he can fight Captain America, but, he can also fight Bucky and Falcon.
Yeah, the fact that even he held, Bucky's arm, which is made of, I don't know if they specifically say what type of metal it is, but, he has, that metal.
I also why would Iron Man bring him along if he didn't think he can take on superhumans on the level of the Avengers?
Well, no, yeah, I'd say, Lyoko, all I'll say is that, Homecoming, I don't think he's as like character assassinated as he is in like Far From Home. So if you want to like go on to that film,
no, I agree. I would say Far From Home is the worst one in the trilogy, where Peter's the most out of character.
Yeah, it's like he literally gets told the world is gonna end unless you help Mysterio, and he still tries refusing.
And his attitude's like, nah, I don't really feel like it.
Hello, Motion. It's good to have you.
What makes it worse is that he talks about responsibility and then he gives up his responsibility to someone else. That's the definition of irresponsible.
Also, I even think Edith as like Tony giving Edith to Peter, I think is even fucking stupider, because it's like, okay, like Peter's like, hey, I want to hand over control to Quentin Beck, and for some reason Edith just doesn't start pulling up fucking files of like.
Yeah,
what I would argue at that point, where it does seem out of character in the moment. Trying to think from a young teenager's perspective and knowing who Peter is.
Not even a young teenager would think this. Like, I'm just gonna stop right there.
Peter's
Not even a young teenager would think this,
Peter's one of those people tries to seize the best in people, even in his villains.
Well, no, the problem with that is you have to consider that this is something that Tony Stark gave to Peter, the last thing that Tony entrusted to Peter, and Peter treats it like it's nothing.
Yeah,
it's like
what I'm trying to argue is I think
it's like, to put it into context.
He gave the glasses to Quentin Beck because I think he, in his own mindset at that moment, he's
it's just
thinking,
like, so stupid.
Even though he's only known him for a short time, he sees good in him.
This? Can I even say this?
But can anyone hear me?
I'd like to say, yeah, we can hear you. I'd like to say as well, like, to me, that's not even the worst part about the entire scene. The worst part is literally when he drops the Edith glasses, and a freaking random person has to pick them up for him. It's like, Peter would literally have left the bar and he would have lost Edith. Like, that's how irresponsible he was.
Also, kind of
there are other problems I could think with that scene. The fact that it's in a public area and I'm surprised that the guys and the villains are not so secretive of the idea that, after Peter immediately leaves, they just start monologuing but that's a different issue.
I don't really think that's an issue with Mysterio, because, like, he's fully aware that it's just a fake room, but, like, from Peter's perspective, like, Peter just doesn't give a shit about his secret identity in Far From Home. Like, he risks it so many times.
But
I want to bring this up
in perspective of why giving Edith is a stupid idea.
Something was also up in that moment, because Peter, when you're super intelligent, you also tend to be hyper observant, and I would say Peter sometimes has that skill. So the fact it is weird that he does give the glasses to someone he's only known for a short time, but he doesn't notice that there's something off about the bar that he's in. Even after he's like, he should have gone.
I
see where you're coming from, but it's like even in the fucking, like later on when Mysterio is like blatantly making him trip balls with the illusions, it's like he can't see through that. Like, he thinks the illusions are real, so it's like, I think he would just believe that the bar scene is real because the illusions are just that good.
Yeah, and I also will say that
in layman's terms on why it's still stupid. Like, imagine this. Imagine Batman dies. He gives Robin the whole Batcave, and Robin's like having doubts of his place in the world. But it's just like when he meets Superman, he gives him the keys to the Batcave because he doesn't want to handle it. It's like, but it's just like, does that seem highly irresponsible to give it to someone you just know who's from another planet for all you know?
Yeah, I think, honestly,
it's just a stupid notion to even consider. Like, no one in their sane mind would make that decision, no matter how experienced or like doubtful they are.
Yeah, honestly, here's another thing about the inexperience, though, is that it doesn't really make a good argument to say it's okay for Tom Holland to be inexperienced, so that's why it justifies everything. That doesn't really make a lot of sense, because Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man in Spider-Man 1 was literally Spider-Man for a few days, and yet he already was whooping Green Goblin, and he already knew what to do. The experience argument doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Well,
I think I communicated it poorly. I think what I meant to say is that he had no experience, is that he had very little experience, but it's weird.
No, he does have experience. Like, why would Tony in Civil War...
Well, it's like,
compared to,
but
like,
I think we're losing too much sleep on this point. Like, I think
Well, it's like if you're comparing it to a veteran Spider-Man who has way more experience,
but it's
who would
like,
know how to
like
get better
keeping
deal with situations.
again, like keeping away from Tobey's Spider-Man because that's irrelevant. It's like the reoccurring theme at that point in the story is that Peter, like Nick Fury, believes that Peter is like not ready for the responsibility. And it's like, if that's the case, I feel like Peter should, if he's going to give the glasses to someone, he should consider giving them to someone he's known for way longer. Like Pepper Potts, Happy Hogan, Doctor Strange, Nick Fury. Or at the very least, he should just hide the glasses so that he's still got them.
Or give them to Happy.
Yeah, like it's actually really stupid. Happy Hogan kept Iron Man's wedding ring safe for like 10 years. It's like, I feel like...
Would you guys say what Peter did with giving the glasses to Quentin Blake is like a forced conflict? Like, that's a problem with the storytelling?
I think he's just blatantly character assassinated. It's like, he would not give something... He would not give the one thing that Iron Man gave to him in his will to a random guy he's known for a few days.
Especially the fact that he
It just makes him seem stupid and selfish.
He literally means, yeah.
Which, I agree. There are problems. That's one of the biggest problems with MCU Spider-Man is that the writers are pretty inconsistent with not knowing how Peter's supposed to be and not supposed to be acting. Like, a lot of times he nails the personality traits, but then there's very blatant, like you guys said, then there's blatant examples of him being very out of character. And you're just sitting here thinking, like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's like, it's also really stupid, the narrative that they go with, because it's like, even within... Like, you can't even make the argument that they contradict, like, other films in the MCU. Because it's like, they contradict their own narrative. So, like, for example, when Spider-Man is making excuses, he's like, oh, Mysterio is like, I'm just a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. It's like, earlier in the film, with no costume and with no mask, he still, like, tried to fight the water monster. So it's like, even in that film, it's like, he wants to give up being Spider-Man, yet he just has his web shooters with him, like when he's chilling in Venice. It's like, they contradict their own, like, narrative, like, so many times, which just makes it very difficult to take seriously.
I'd also like to point out, I also think that a better option for the Edith classes would have just been to just give them to Rhodey.
Yeah, it's like, even though Rhodey was like a Skrull during the events of Endgame, it's like Peter wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't necessarily
I have to ask now that since you brought that up, what is Peter's relationship with Rhodey?
Well, here's the thing I want to bring up, and ignore every single point that we made, and simply just account for all the inconsistencies and character assassinations, and basically make the Spider-Man look like a dumbass at... Like, he's incompetent at worst and a dumbass at like, he's incompetent at best, he's a dumbass at worst. It's like, and that's consistent.
I am agreeing that
films.
he is very inconsistent throughout the entire MCU home trilogy, but what I'm disagreeing with is this idea is that Peter's being nerfed, and my understanding is it has to do with the very little experience they have, even if it's only 6 or 8 months.
Okay, but you keep saying that.
Well, it's like, let's like, chronologically, like, Homecoming takes place, like, almost immediately after Civil War. And he's just blatantly weaker than he was in Civil War. It's like, this is the same guy who can like 1v1 Captain America. Yet in Homecoming, he's struggling against a random human with a glove.
And by the way,
Okay, but how would you define him being nerfed? Like,
because
depending on action,
in terms of powers, he is weaker. Like, he's much weaker.
Yeah,
but he has no spider
why would Tony ask Peter Parker, who has experience as Spider-Man, before Tony comes to see him? Like, he's already had this experience fighting, like, bad guys, stuff like, yeah, sure, you can say it's, like, the neighborhood and stuff like that, but still, Tony asked him to come help him fight in the Civil War film, because he believed that he could go fight all these superhumans, because they have, like, the Witch, Ant-Man, Captain America, Bucky, all these people who have superhuman strength and super speed and all that jazz, and then when we come to see Homecoming, he apparently cannot defeat, like, the pettiest of villains, whatever, or the super weapons, even though he has done that before.
It's like
Also,
I'm.
you
It's
gotta
like
remember another thing.
it's like I'm
the
fine
fact
with. Sorry, go on.
No, you can go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, I'm fine with Peter struggling against Vulture, because at the end of the day, he does have, like, Chitauri weaponry, but I don't think he should struggle against Shocker or, like, regular humans.
Exactly.
That's fair, but it's also to also point out, isn't Vulture like his first major supervillain in his Spider-Man career?
Well, it shouldn't matter because he fought
It
people
shouldn't
that are
matter.
arguably above Vulture.
Yeah, and to add on to that, you gotta remember, yes, Peter did, so like 1v1 Captain America. You also gotta remember, Captain only really won that fight because he took advantage of the environment and trapped Peter underneath like a cylinder.
But it's like,
okay,
but it's like
even
even
trying to hurt each other and they were going easy on each other.
But it's like even if you discount the Captain America fight, it's like he just blatantly is shown to be stronger than Winter
I wasn't
Soldier.
discounting. I wasn't discounting it. I was adding on to the fact that Shocker shouldn't be that much of a threat, considering the fact that Captain America himself only really won the fight because he took advantage of the entire environment and caught Peter off guard with the cylinder.
Oh yeah,
the fact that Captain America had to rely on the environment really tells you how strong Peter actually is. Captain America couldn't fight.
Can I also point something else out? So
Go ahead.
Okay, so Peter can like Captain America drops like a fucking like shipping canister on Peter, and he's able to like, you know, at least somewhat hold it up.
Yeah, he was holding it up
apparently-
consistently.
Hang on. Yet apparently in Homecoming, he can't lift up like a giant piece of rubble that's pinned on top.
That reminds me.
He's like begging for help too.
That
He's
is strange,
begging for help.
but I think it has to do with the fact that he was caught off guard by it. Like, yeah, his spider sense like should have alerted him with that like a bit quicker.
But it's
Can
like
I also mention a case of Spider-Man being nerfed?
Yeah, go on.
You have to remember
like,
the cylinder.
you remember when Peter was in the truck and he like jumped up and he knocked himself out? It's like if Peter was any more durable than just jumping up and hitting his head like that, he should have been able to tank it and get out of the truck without like getting knocked
But it's
out.
like I don't even think the lifting rubble thing is like, I don't even think that's that bad of an anti-feat, because like rubble can be incredibly fucking heavy, but it's like I think a worse anti-feat is when like he's webbing the van that has Shocker in it, and he's not even able to like he's not able to overpower the van. When it's like we've seen in a Civil War, he can instantly bring like an entire bus to a stop like instantly. So it's like why can he do that yet he can't like bring a van to a standstill? It's like he's just been ragdolled by the fucking van. Like he doesn't even.
Now I'm a little confused.
That's like having I know it's irrelevant, you know, but I'm just making a comparison. That's like if having remember that train scene Toby stopped. Imagine the movie right after that train scene, Toby fails to stop a car despite stopping a train.
Well, it's not even that. It's like, because technically that is an issue that I had with Spider-Man 3. You know the Venom video that I did like recently? It's like,
yeah.
I think it's stupid that like Toby's webbing can like stop a train. You have Venom's webbing that's debatably even stronger, yet individual strands can barely support the weight of a truck. Like, I think that's stupid. It's like,
yeah.
I don't know, it's...
Yeah, I do agree with Riff that they have some very weird anti-feats for Tom Spider-Man.
It's like...
really weird
It's like if you took everything, if you ignored all the crossovers and you look at solely Tom's like individual films, he's considerably weaker than even Andrew's Spider-Man.
Well, it's like, I feel like we've gone over power. Like, is there any other things that you disagree with Tom Spider-Man?
I don't think getting rid of the crossover thing is really fair, because you require. Sorry for my again bad language. But anyway,
you're fine.
I don't
You're
think
very
it's really
good.
fair to. I don't think it's really fair to get rid of the context of the crossovers.
Well, that's not what I was saying. What I was saying is if you look at solely his individual films, he has worse feats overall that would put him like below even Andrew's Spider-Man. Whereas like the only reason he is strong is because of the crossovers.
Wasn't it also established in like No Way Home when they were fighting basically the MCU's version of the Sinister Six without the sixth person, that Spider-Man from Tobey's universe and Andrew's universe, that they're the only superheroes in their universe? Because there was a line where they said, "Hey, I'm a part of the Avengers. That's great. What's that?" Is that a band? So I think that confirms that there's only one superhero in their universe.
But it's like,
did you happen to all notice that when you were watching No Way Home?
Well, it's just like
But
we don't
I
even know
don't
if
think
that's
that
the
really
case. What if it's
matters.
the X-Men?
I think it's just that the Avengers don't exist in their universe.
Like, it could have been the Fantastic Four or the X-Men. They could have existed, but just because they're like the Avengers don't exist doesn't mean those other hero teams don't exist.
And yeah, and like, oh wait, but they technically just said, oh, we don't know the Avengers. What's the Avengers like? But here's okay, sorry, my words today. Blah blah blah. So what I'm trying to say is that, so let's say if the Avengers were not in Andrew's like universe or Tobey Maguire's universe, that doesn't really prove a point or anything. They could possibly have other heroes in their universe that they probably haven't met yet, just because
the whole point of a solo
there is
film
something
is to
else.
focus, the whole point of a solo film is to focus on an individual character who's the main character of that film. It's not meant to focus on crossovers.
But it's like,
yeah.
So I feel like we're just going round and round. Is there any like other points that you want to go over?
Let's switch subjects. I don't have really much more to add.
Okay, that's fair. Connor, what did you have a disagreement on?
It was mainly, it was a fucking while ago. We kept rambling on about Spider-Man. I don't even think it's relevant at this point, but
it's alright.
No, it's fine. You know, shit like it happened. This is normal when it comes to debating. Oftentimes you go off a different topic. You know, it's normal. But it was more so about the contextual thing on how we shouldn't rely on outside sources to get to a clear story on an individual source. I don't really personally agree with that.
Well, what do you think is the best sources to confirm stuff like this?
What did you say? Again?
What do you think is the best, most reliable sources then? Hello?
You got me there.
But it's like, I think
is realistically the most reliable source would be the source that you're currently endeavoring, and not outside sources. But at the same time, it's kind of weird because you require context for that source.
Well, it's just like comparing a book to a movie. It's like the book will have more details, but just because the movie is what you consume doesn't mean those details don't exist.
Yeah,
it's just that they have to be pointed out to you.
Well, I don't even
that's
think...
what I mean, is that we can't ignore context simply because it's outside source when that outside source is confirmed canon to the context.
Well, I think the issue that I have with it is obviously like no one's ignoring the like outside context, but I think what the issue is that you shouldn't need it to make the writing in the game make sense.
Yeah, it's so like
and the issue
way to look at it, and here's an example.
That's kind of
like, you know
debatable
Tom's
because, again, you
Spider-Man
need
when he
context.
first fights Goblin? It's like people argue whether or not he holds back or if he went all out, but you can still make an argument without like confirmation outside the movie that he was going all out.
But it's like it's kind of like it's kind of like the Infinity War and Endgame, where I think this is a really good point, where it's like both films become way better when you have like external context. Like obviously, if you watch like all of the Iron Man films, you learn more about Iron Man. Same with Captain America, Thor, etc. But it's like I feel like with Infinity War, you don't need to do your homework to understand what's going on in that film. But it's like with Endgame, you do. And I think that makes Endgame worse overall in terms of yes, both films get better when you have like all of the context, but you don't need the context for Infinity War to work.
Actually,
but you do for Endgame.
I'd actually argue you kind of do need some context for Infinity War, because otherwise, how would you know Thor Mjolnir broke, and that's why Thor needs Stormbreaker?
But it's like, let me put it to you this way. Let me put it to you this way. So Infinity War starts, okay, and we've no idea. Let's say, for the sake of argument, Infinity War is your first MCU film, okay. So even before the title card has finished, you can hear radio static implying that something's wrong. We then see the first scene. Like, Thanos is literally dragging Thor with one hand. He beats the shit out of Hulk, and he kills Heimdall and Loki. It's like, that instantly tells you everything you need to know about this guy. Like, he's, like, even if you don't know his backstory, it's like you know what's going on immediately. You know that this guy is not here to mess around. It's like, if that kind of makes sense.
But that's not... I mean, yeah, that does tell you, like, okay, that points out the obvious that he's an antagonist, that tells you that, but it doesn't really tell you why he's here.
Well, can I make another point about something? Can I actually make a... I won't go use a different example, since, like, the MCU is kind of not a great point. So, like, for example, with Five Nights at Freddy's, the context of Five Nights at Freddy's, all you need to know is like, oh, dead kids happen, and they got stuff into suits. That's obvious context because you can see like news clippings and the things the film guy has said and everything like that.
Five Nights at Freddy's. I haven't played the game.
Five Nights at Freddy's is a weird thing.
Yeah, it's a weird fucking example. Like that iceberg runs deeper.
Yeah, what a better way to say
no. There's a reason why. There's a reason why.
My understanding because of the lore.
Well, you can like put it like this: Spider-Verse, like across Spider-Verse.
No, let me finish. But the reason why I wanted to bring in, is because I know fans of weird context and everything. I'm not in a fan of pretty much anymore. But what I'm trying to point is that, like, apparently Scott Cawthon is trying to tell you that you need outside context to understand why there's such things as dead kids. Why can there just be the fact that they're dead kids and there's a crazy murderer? Like, why do we need outsourced media just to explain that sort of context?
I think I get what you're saying because my understanding is that the stories for the Five Nights at Freddy games is very vague. Like, it doesn't tell you a lot, so you have to do your own digging to try to find answers to your questions. I think what a lot of people did is they went to straight to the creator's mouth and relied on what he said.
Yeah, exactly, I get what you're saying, but at the same time, it's still a weird comparison to the MCU.
Well, yeah, it's like if we...
I wasn't comparing it to MCU, I'm saying use a different example. I was using a different example.
Can I bring up a better example?
If she's not comparing, I think she was accidentally
trilogy, and you don't have... Like, in Star Wars, you can watch the original trilogy without watching the prequels. That's a better example.
Yeah, that's a better example.
Yeah, something else I also want to point out, with the point that Rift brought up, I think like what he's trying to imply is if like Infinity War is your first like MCU movie, you could probably just make the assumption that like Thanos maybe somehow like destroyed Mjolnir, like, because if he's already like beaten Thor, you could make the assumption that like
not even that. It's like you don't need to know shit about Mjolnir to understand Thor's journey. It's like, Mjolnir is literally irrelevant to Thor's journey in Infinity War. It's like, okay, so let's say, okay.
Well, actually, no, it is relevant.
It's literally not relevant because literally Thor's journey in Infinity War. Like, say for example, you know nothing about the guy. Okay. He immediately loses to Thanos, his brother gets killed in front of him, you learn later that all of his entire family is dead, he goes to a place to forge a weapon capable of killing the guy who killed his family. It's like, you don't need to know anything about Thor for his arc to make sense in Infinity War.
That's a fair argument.
It's like, you don't need to know shit about Thanos in Guardians of the Galaxy for his arc to make sense in Infinity War. It's like, you don't need to know anything about Iron Man to understand that, he has...
glad they did, because it obviously what made Thanos such a compelling character, since we understand his motivations and his justifications for his actions.
That's the point. It's like, I think the reason why Infinity War is, like, the better film is because, like, it gives a lot of time to every character. It's like, when the Guardians are introduced, for example, it's like, you know that tonally they're a lot more, like, lighthearted and upbeat than other characters. It's like when you see, like, when you're introduced to the Hulk, for example, it's like, okay, you clearly know the guy is very fucking strong, because he's able to knock around Thanos. It's like the same guy who dragged Thor with one hand. It's like, you kind of, like, the film kind of establishes things about the characters that you might not have known with other films.
I mean, yeah, it establishes the characters, but it doesn't fully establish the story, though.
My history of MCU is that I am seeing a lot of the movies.
Well,
My
it establishes
first literally
it establishes the
first time
story
in the
like
movie.
pretty freaking early on. It's like, okay, Thanos is collecting 6 of these stones. He already has one of them. He gets a second one. It's like the heroes have to stop him before he gets all 6. It's like they establish it pretty well.
Also, if I recall correctly, like I think only like 4 out of like the 6 Infinity Stones really appear, because like from what I remember, like the Reality Stone was in Dark World, the Space Stone was in Guardians, the Mind Stone was in Age of Ultron, and then like the Tesseract was in like the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
And Doctor Strange has
So
like
if you didn't
yeah.
have the context of the previous movies, you wouldn't know where all the stones are or where they came from.
Well,
But it's like you do know where the stones are because Thor says it to Gamora.
Well, yeah, but like
they
Connor,
establish everything.
Yeah, like Connor, like part of my point is like you don't really need to know the context of where the stones are before Infinity War happens, because they kind of say where each one of them is. Like fucking what's his face? Ebony Maw like calls like Doctor Strange Stonekeeper. Like they clearly know that he has the Time Stone.
Yeah, it's like they also they talk about the stones on Titan the whole time. Well, yeah, that's kind of like that's kind of like one of the bigger battles.
And
but
also,
it's like,
for granted, like, yes, if you want to, like, you can watch, like, the other movies just to get an idea how everything kind of started. But at the same time, I don't think you don't really necessarily need the movies to try to figure out where the stones are at, because, like everyone has said, in Infinity War, they explain, like, where the stones are at and what they need to do to make sure that Thanos doesn't go and get them.
Also,
this is where I disagree with whoever said that. I think you do need to provide the context, because I don't want to come across as like has a superiority complex or anything, but I think the average person is pretty dumb, like especially in American society, mostly America is where my issue would be. So I feel like you need to talk down to people and explain the simplest things to them, because a lot of things seem to fly over the average person's head.
Hold on. I'm gonna say that's one thing I disagree, because one, no, let me explain. Because one, I am autistic, and usually I don't really understand the basic things. But yet, I didn't need to watch all the other films to understand the fact that Thanos is after the stones, and they know where the stones are, and they need to go in after them.
I'm gonna meet you halfway. It's like, I think I'm gonna meet you. It's like, I think I agree with what you're saying, where it's like you should make it so that idiots understand your film. It's like, and I feel like that's what, like, I feel like that's the issue that I have with some films, where it's like you genuinely need, like, to do your own research to understand what's going on, which I don't think is what should
I'm basically
happen.
making the argument from like the writers and the producers' perspective.
Well,
They
let me
probably
speak to
feel-
someone.
They probably feel the same way I do, where they need to explain this stuff because they feel like it's going to fly over a lot of people's heads.
Wait, hang on, Chris. This comment is exactly what I'm trying to say. Why is needing to watch other movies an issue, though? Who the fuck jumps into the middle of something without doing their homework on it? It's like jumping into Do you want me to explain to you why you're wrong, Chris? It's like, I understand where you're coming from. My first MCU film was the first Avengers, okay? I knew everything about every single character because of that one film. I didn't need to watch any of the other Phase 1 films to understand who Iron Man was, who Cap was, who Hulk was. Like, all of the characters were established in that one film.
Also,
yeah.
Lyoko,
may I speak for a moment here? I'm gonna
hang
address
on.
something about.
I want to bring this up real quick. Lyoko, something else I want to point out. Like, I myself have a developmental delay, and I haven't even seen like I didn't even watch the first 2 Thor movies, and I understand.
Well, no, I'm not calling you guys specifically stupid. I'm talking about in general. I specifically more towards like people of my own country,
I'm not gonna
because
lie.
I don't think Americans should be trying to police the world or anything.
But it's like, I'm just gonna end this entire point right here, because like I feel like it's getting heated. It's like, Kiwi's autistic, I may as well be autistic, and it's like Shade has a learning disability. It's like we all agree that it's like we all agree.
That very important. I also have autism. By the way,
okay,
so
fair enough. It's
I can relate to what you guys were saying.
Yeah, it's fine. It's like we all have these like things, yet we all agree that Infinity War did a good job. It's like I think that's all there is.
Well, can I also just bring it up? Like, I don't want to.
A wide left field. Also, go ahead.
I wish I could speak. But...
Go ahead.
But essentially, I may be on the opposite end of where your guys at, where I don't have any disability, and I'm not even what you consider average by any means. But I don't want to go into any of that. My whole point when it comes to a film is that you should look at everything and then ask yourself, if the normal person can see this and be okay with it, and like you all said, you all have things that you would quote unquote make you below the average, but that doesn't necessarily make it bad if it works for everyone. Like, a story should be able to self-contain itself with context only adding to the story.
But it's like,
with this, like, Asafe, my whole point was, like, I could watch, like, MCU films without the context of what happened in previous movies.
But it's like ultimately,
I feel like I need the context to understand what's happening.
But it's like ultimately.
But when it comes to the average person, they're not gonna all like do their homework, and that's understandable. But you can't necessarily say that everyone who watches a film is responsible for understanding the film if they just blatantly didn't do their homework.
Well, I think at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself two questions. Number one, do you need to do your research to make the film bearable? And two, if you do your research, does it make the film better? Those are the questions you need to ask. So it's like,
if you're going to complain about not understanding parts of the movie, and then you don't make the effort to do the research, then you really have no one to blame but yourself if you don't understand.
Let me kind of add something as well. But here's the thing: so like for some of my family, they're not like huge Sonic fans. They don't know anything about Sonic except for I do. And yet when we go to see like the movies or whatever, or just watch the movies on like streaming platforms or whatever we have or whatever, they understood what Sonic is mainly all about and everything, because even though they didn't do their homework or anything, like they didn't read the comics or play the video games or whatever, they understood most of everything they were talking about. Same thing like with MCU, like I didn't need to watch like Thor or Iron Man or Spider-Man or anything like that to like understand Civil War.
That's kind of my point going back to it. It's like, if like number one, do you need context to make the film good? It's like, I feel like the film by itself should do a good enough job.
I would say in a lot of cases you do need the context, but I do agree it's not always necessary. I think it's better to follow.
But it's like, I've always maintained the fact that it's like a piece. You don't need like context for a piece of media to make sense if the piece of media is good. So like, to use an example, it's like, okay, we were talking about the Avengers. It's like, the Avengers makes sense even if you don't know shit about the MCU, but it's like, doing your research makes it better. And it's like, the same can be said with Sonic 3, which was an example where, you know, people just fucking hated it because they didn't watch the first two films. It's like, I feel like Sonic 3 does make sense, like, on its own. Like, you don't need to watch the other two films for it to make sense. But it's like, the film gets better if you watch the other two films. So it's like, that's why I think Sonic 3 is a good example of that.
What I think was simple case, I agree with you, but I think what I was trying to communicate is that if you're going to complain about the missing context, you can't just ignore the context when it's provided for you. So some people have to go out of their way to doing the research for themselves. I'm saying it's just a weird thing that I know some people tend to do when discussing any piece of media. They'll complain about not having the context while intentionally not.
Yeah, Cypher, to attribute to your point, Cypher, the thing about that is when people say that they don't have full context when it's provided in the film, that's mainly a them problem for not paying attention if it's already in the film.
But it's like, I agree.
Exactly.
You can make an argument.
I'm just gonna say, I agree with Yuveshku's comment where he says, I think doing research to enhance the experience can be fine, but to make the experience tolerable or good shouldn't be necessary.
Well, that's what I'm trying to bring up. With No Way Home, you need to do research for any of this shit in No Way Home to be meaningful. If, like, say, for example, you never saw Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man films or the TASM films, and those films didn't exist, and this was your first introduction to them, the film would be infinitely worse because you're just bringing in randos with no context to who they are, and there's nothing in the film to indicate their backstory or anything.
Also,
fully. So
Cypher,
I can understand that because I'm one of those people. Like, I was one of those people that did not grow up reading comics, so it was actually the Sam Raimi trilogy that introduced me to the character of Spider-Man, which made me become a fan of the character for the rest of my life. But then sometimes I do go out of my way to do research on the comics, but I don't have any comics until now.
I would say that's not a good example because it's like an adaptation. So it's like so it's like with like the Raimi trilogy, for example, it's like you shouldn't need the comics to understand what's going on. It's like because again, it's separate to the comics.
Like for example,
that's
like
where
when
I disagree. Where I feel like if you're needing if you're wanting to become a fan of the character, you might want to get an idea of like where the story of the movie's being inspired by. Not saying you have to engage with the source material, but I encourage people to do so, even if myself is not really that into it.
It's like
I would also
just
point
think
out, even in the source material, there are problems. There are some stories that work. There are some stories that don't.
Yeah.
You can't just say look at the source material alone.
But it's like
the adaptation.
I'd also say that's just blatantly irrelevant because it's like again, it's an adaptation. It's different from the comics. It's like you shouldn't. It's like you shouldn't need. You shouldn't need like comics context to justify the what happens in an adaptation.
Also,
I get that because
like the adaptation should make perfect sense on its own, and if it doesn't, then the adaptation has failed.
Wait, I can say is how to say something.
Isn't the point of an adaptation is to basically get people to become fans of the source material? Like, if people love the movies or the games or the TV shows, they're gonna want to go buy the books.
The whole point of an adaptation is that it adapts what happens in the books, but it's like if it needs to rely on the books, then it's not a good adaptation.
Literally not one
Yeah, that's why I don't like.
Get people to try to build material.
Wait.
I think we need to start. I think we need to start setting a little bit of a boundary because we're all over talking each other and it's getting kind of heated because of that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, but let Shay talk since he needs to speak for a bit.
Cypher, I have a question. So the Star Wars like prequel trilogy?
I have not seen those movies, so I can't comment on that.
Well, no. I'm just asking. Like, do you like those movies because they happened? The question that I have for you is like, do you need to is it required for you to watch like the Clone Wars TV show to like understand what happens leading up to Revenge of the Sith?
I don't think he can answer that question because he never watched the prequel, so he doesn't really have a good.
I've not even seen any Star Wars movie in my life. I'm just not interested in the franchise at all.
So using that isn't really a good argument because since he hasn't seen anything,
let me bring an example that will get everyone on the same track. So essentially, look at the Lord of the Rings films. Those three films in their entirety, including, well, no, I'm not bringing up like whether or not you've seen them. I'm talking about in general. People watch those films, and genuinely speaking, people have not read the books after the films have been produced. It's one of those films where you can just watch them and you can watch those films and no one in their you can ask 10 people and I guarantee you only one person has read the books.
Like
I can't comment on those either because I've never seen any of the Lord of the Rings.
Like using an example that we were all talking about. It's like, do you need context to understand what's happening in No Way Home? Yes. Do you need context to understand what's happening in the Raimi trilogy? No. It's like it should begin and end there. Like honestly.
It's also basically kind of example as well. Like, I don't think generally you need to play all Sonic games just to understand Sonic and his friends or whatever as well. Because, they're just random games. Like, yes, you could say there's like a timeline of things or whatever. They might mention things here and there, but you don't really need to go and play another game to understand it unless it's like a direct sequel like Sonic Adventure or Sonic Adventure 2. But I don't think you need to play Sonic Adventure 1 to understand a Sonic Adventure 2 because there's no relevancy, anything relation in Sonic Adventure. But words. I'm sorry.
But you would need to play Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 to understand Sonic Frontiers because Sonic Frontiers brings up Adventure 1.
You wouldn't need to. You don't need to.
No, you wouldn't. No, I even haven't played Sonic Adventure 1 or 2.
To understand those callback moments in Frontiers, you would need to know somewhat of the context.
Okay,
Otherwise, it
okay.
would bring that.
No, I
up
don't.
some-
Actually, no, I don't.
Connor,
You
that's
do.
like saying that you would need to play like Sonic Adventure 2 to understand like the reference that was made between Shadow and Sonic in Shadow Generations, where they're just like the blue hedgehog of all places. It's like that's
because
like
without
saying, like,
context of that, you would not understand what they're doing.
Well,
I agree that's a bad thing.
Yeah, and that's kind of my point. If you haven't played Sonic Adventure 1, 2, or any of the Sonic games, you genuinely would not understand Generations, and the entire point of Generations is entirely a callback to the previous Sonic games. The entire point of Generations is...
But here I am playing Sonic Generations and understand all of, like, the complex stuff like that because I'm like, because I didn't play this game.
You played the previous Sonic games.
Okay.
Or known them.
What I meant is that like okay, like they like them making like a hang on them making like a reference to Sonic Adventure 2 with just like Sonic and Shadow's dialogue. You don't need to play Sonic Adventure 2 to actually understand what that dialogue means, is my point. Like because like they say the exact same thing in like both games. It's just that Sonic doesn't call Shadow Faker. Like that's it. But it's just like you don't need yes, you need the context of like the previous Sonic games for Sonic Generations, but just like that one bit of dialogue from Shadow Generations between Sonic and Shadow, you don't need context for.
I agree. You don't need context for the small stuff, but for the entirety of the game or majority of it, you do need context because the entire point of the game is to be a callback to the previous games. It's literally.
I don't even think you do need much context, to be fair, because like Generation's story is like very easy to follow for a newbie.
Like I literally
Sonic.
Like the only game that I have played that was before Sonic Generations was like Sonic XX and other games as well, but I didn't play Sonic Adventure 1 or 2, but I do understand like the callback stuff like that because I know it's important to everyone else, and I still had an enjoyable time. It was like, oh yeah, I remember people talking about this callback, that's really cool and stuff like that. I still enjoy it without having to have the context because I think it's cool anyways, because it's like, oh, that's so cool, they added that.
The reason that this isn't really relevant to the topic is the fact that with or without context, it's still good. Just adding context just freshens it even more. Like, you're right. Having the full context makes it better, but that doesn't necessarily mean the product by itself is bad.
But that's kind
of at this point. I forgot what we were talking about.
So the issue.
We were talking about Spider-Man and then it moved on.
Well, no. So the original thing that we were talking about was Infinite. So it's like, okay, you don't have any of the comics, you don't have any of the other stuff. It's like, what do you know about him in the games? It's like, okay, in the main game, he's established multiple times to be a robot or an android, and then in the Shadow DLC, it's revealed that he's not an android, he's actually a person. It's like, okay, that contradicts, it makes no sense. So it's like, okay, what happens with the comics to help us? Like, what additional context helps us? It's like, it doesn't help us, though, because it's like, the comics doesn't fix the issue with the main game. It's like, okay, they doubled down on the idea that he was not an android, he was like a normal animal, he got like this power and all the rest of it, but it's like, that still contradicts what happens in the main game, where it's like every character, including Infinite, acts as if he's a robot. So it's like, so even if you have context for Forces' story, it still makes no sense.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't, like, and again, you shouldn't need extra context to fix something that's already contradicted. Because it's like, I don't think the additional context would make any difference at that point.
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of like Suicide Squad as well. It's like having all of the context for the Arkham games wouldn't fix Suicide Squad's writing. In fact, it would just blatantly make it worse.
You can even argue
so like,
having less context makes it better.
Do we all agree that the biggest problem with the Suicide Squad game is the fact that the squad has like way too much fucking plot armor to the point there's no way they should be able to people like
let's not crack open that can of worms, because I think we
wait, you were trying to say, Shay? What were you trying to say, Shay? You were saying something?
I wasn't saying it.
It was Connor who was trying to say
Oh.
something.
Oh, okay, sorry.
My bad.
Yeah, it's like
No, I was
that's basically what I was saying. Where it's like,
I guess we can end this on a good note, in which we're kind of in the middle of this.
but it's like I'm firmly
we
within.
agree that, yeah.
Well, it's
We're
like,
kinda
there
in
was
the middle
a-
where
the-
we agree you shouldn't need context for everything, but you should indulge in context if.
Well, it's like the reason why I don't like this argument. I'm trying to find the debate I had with someone. Because there was a debate that I had with someone on Endgame versus Infinity War, and it's like one of their defenses for Endgame is like, oh, you can't treat it like a film. You have to treat it as a conclusion in order for it to make sense. It's like, okay, but what if I did treat it like a film? It makes no fucking sense. Like,
To treat something as a conclusion is part of a film.
well, no, but it's like if you have to headcanon something for it to make sense, I'm like, okay, so it doesn't make sense then. You have to like literally.
Like, here's the thing, like, I am gonna bring
That
up
messed with my
Finance
head a
Freddy's
bit.
as a example, like,
What the fuck is it?
like, I did try to read the Finance Freddy's books to try to understand the lore, but each book that I've read contradicts a lot of things, especially from the games and
that was
everything
because
like that.
Scott's. Oh yeah, that was because Scott stated the books takes place in a different timeline, so they're not canon.
Yeah, but it still doesn't make sense because he's trying to say that it is canon to the games, but it's also a different continuity. It's like you're
The chances of me
contradicting
finding this are
yourself.
not very high, but
Yeah,
anyway.
because like to add on to Kiwi's point, even like the movie like contradicts like a lot of the games.
Yeah, because they're different timelines, and so they're not canon
Yeah,
to the main timeline.
yeah,
It's
but
really weird. That's why I don't like
yeah.
talking about Finance Freddy's.
Yeah, but
Freddy's
like,
is a weird thing to bring up.
yeah, but like
Okay.
my point with like that I was trying to like point out is like Kiwi said, like even the movie itself, they're like Scott is trying to say it fits, is like he's trying to say like it does fit into the canon, but it really doesn't.
Yeah, it's like he's trying to say like it still follows like the games and stuff like that. It's like no, it doesn't. Like the only thing I have to say that it does connect to the games is the fact that there were 5 dead kids.
I think this is
and
irrelevant
there's
at this
another.
point. Like, could we just move on?
Yeah, it's irrelevant, really. Yeah.
This is random, but I just feel the need to bring this up. Am I the only one here who's not really a fan of Sonic? My only experience with the character is the 2006 game. What was it called? Sonic Unleashed, and the first Sonic movie.
I'm not a
That's
Sonic
it.
fan either.
Sonic Unleashed was 2008. 2006 was Sonic 06.
I think Sonic
Well, it's just
overall
like-
is just okay, but I don't get the appeal. I don't get why he's so popular.
I mean, you started
to
with
be
Sonic
fair, if you only
06, so I'm
played-
not
To
surprised.
be fair, if you only... Well, that kind of brings up into this argument, because if you only played one of the games, that's kind of unfair to judge the entire thing if you're only going off one. But at the same time, I can understand if you had a bad experience with something that you wouldn't want to continue it. So it's kind of meh.
I don't even know.
Well, that wasn't my only example. I did see the first Sonic movie, and I thought it was better than the game I played.
Well,
Oh,
yeah,
wait,
well,
which
yeah,
one did you play again?
because
You
it's
said Sonic Unleashed, but then you said 06. Like, I'm confused.
Which
Wait,
game was
I
it?
meant to say Sonic Unleashed. I thought that game came out in 2006. I didn't mean to say the 06 game. My bad.
That's
Yeah,
alright.
Sonic Unleashed came out in 2008. That's 2 years after.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so it's like I feel like at that point that's just a subjective thing. 'Cause it's like Nick's Nick is in chat. It's like his first Sonic project was Sonic 3, like the film, and it's like that made him a Sonic fan. So it's like I feel like
that's kind of the basis of this entire thing, is that it's kind of mostly subjective.
well, no, I feel like at the end of the day, it comes back to what I was saying, where it's like a good project is good without like additional context. It's like Sonic 3 is a good film. You don't need to see it. You don't need to see Sonic 1 and 2 to enjoy Sonic 3. But it's like
Or you
the
need to,
film
like,
gets,
rewatch.
but the film gets even better if you watch the first 2 films.
Yeah, they definitely have flaws though too. You know.
Whereas
you
it's
can
like-
still enjoy something without the context, but the context is still important in its own. So it's kind of
Well, it's like there's
sides are-
the issue with some films is it feels like you have to do your homework in order to understand what's going on, which I don't think
Which I
that's.
don't think is necessarily a problem all the time.
I do think that's a problem. I think that's shit.
You
to
might
be
think
honest.
this is an unfair expectation, but in general, I feel like if you're trying to become a fan of something, I think people should always make an effort to do research.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing, is that if you don't do research, but you don't understand a sequel, because the point of a sequel is to establish more context onto the original or add more to it. But if you watch the sequel instead of the original and you complain that there's no context, that's kind of your fault at the end of the day still.
But it's like, I think a good sequel can be good with or without the original.
Yeah, but that's what I mean, is that it can be good without the original, but the point of a sequel is to add on to the original. It's meant to add more. And so
the way I would word it is that the point of a sequel is to give people more of what they like while adding shit on top of it and improving some of the mistake that was established in the
at the end of the day, it's your fault for not doing the thing. I agree that a film can be good without the original, but if you don't understand the sequel, and the point of a sequel is to add on to the original, that's still your fault at the end of the day for not doing proper research. It's still your fault.
I don't agree. I feel like I feel like a good
society just have an aversion to doing research. I feel like people just want to argue for the sake of arguing instead of actually checking things out for themselves.
I agree. If you complain
that's on
about
them, like you said.
you don't know anything about the original, it's kind of still your fault.
But it's like, I feel like that would only occur in like case by case basis, like based on certain criticisms people may have. Because it's like I'm just in the mindset that a sequel, you should understand what's going on, and you shouldn't need the context from the first film to understand what's going on.
Well, wait, Legals has a good point actually in chat. He said, I have an example, Puss in Boots, The Last Wish. Like, yeah, you don't need to watch the first film to understand what's going on in The Last Wish. Like, because I forgot there was another film before The Last Wish.
Yeah, that's because The Last Wish is completely separate from the original in terms that it never brings up the original ever. It's in its own, it's like its own story that never brings up the original. So that's kind of really a meh argument, because Puss in Boots, The Last Wish never makes an attempt or ever attempts to establish the
well, let me put it to you this way. Have you guys seen Harry Potter?
Yes.
No.
Yes. You know how, like, okay, well, every single film and every single book takes place, like, a year after the events of... Well, no, they take place, like, immediately after the previous one. And you can pick a film almost at random. Maybe not the later ones, because the later ones, like, shit gets complicated.
Yeah, well,
but, like,
I would argue if you watch the Deathly Hallows Part 1 or 2 in isolation, it would still make sense.
Well, no, but it's like, for example...
Doesn't that kind of contradict your argument if you can watch any film except the later ones and make sense? Doesn't that kind of contradict it?
Well, no, it doesn't, because because my entire point is like a good.
Still understand it as someone who's read the books and watched the movies.
But it's like my point.
I thought the argument was that you can watch the original movies except the later ones, and you can watch them at random without ever picking. But then he said, but you can't do that for the later movies. So
well, no, because like the issue. Movies, well, no, because like you can pick out like one of the earlier films. Like, for example, you can skip the first one and just watch the second one, and it makes complete sense. It's like you can't really.
But if you watch the later ones and it doesn't make sense, doesn't that kind
of
that doesn't contradict my point, because my entire point is you like a good film you can do it with, a bad film you can't. Like that's my entire point.
Since we're doing Harry Potter, like for example, I didn't read the books. I only saw the films first. And I still had the context that I need to know. Yes, the books added more context, but you can still enjoy the films without needing the extra context. Like there are definitely some gripes where they did miss out a few.
Well, it's like my point is like sticking with Harry Potter. It's like it's like Chamber of Secrets is the second film. You could watch that and have a complete understanding of literally everything that's going on in this world. You couldn't do the same with Deathly Hallows. Not Deathly Hallows. You couldn't do the same with Half-Blood Prince. It's like if that's your first film, you have no fucking idea how you got there. Like the world is in shambles. You're like, holy hell, what is going on? And you're just lost. So it's like a good film, a good sequel, sorry. You can pick it up and immediately understand what's going on. A lesser good film, you can't. Like you have to do your homework to understand what's going on.
So, I also to like the one last thing I want to say, like this is a really bad example, but like for instance, I didn't see the original Jumanji movie from like way back when I saw like the new one with The Rock. And to be honest, like I don't really think you need to see the original one to understand the context of like the new one.
Yeah,
Yes,
I will
because
definitely
is it the
agree
new
with that.
Well, yeah, is it because the new Jumanji movie is a reboot? It's not meant to be a continuation of the original film.
Yeah, I'd agree.
No, it is a it is a
So
continuation.
that kind of comes
because-
back to what we're saying though, is that whether or not a movie is good or bad depends on if it's trying to add on to the original or if it's supposed to be its own separate thing apart from the original.
Well,
It's kind
no,
of
like
that.
I'm agreeing. I'm just saying, like I just brought up Jumanji.
If a movie is designed specifically to add on to the original, you need the context of the original. That doesn't make the movie itself bad. That's just lack of you.
No, I do agree. It makes it bad.
I agree, but when you're trying to be a reboot and trying to be your own thing and separate it from the original, you don't need that
Yeah.
context because
If
you
you're
because it's
trying to be
its
your
own
own
thing.
separate from the original, then you don't need context. You don't need context if it's like its own separate thing from the original.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's what I was asking about the new Jumanji movie because I need to know that since I haven't seen that movie.
I think it's also a reboot. I don't remember.
Because like, I think another good example that you would need context for, but like it's weird because I feel like this example is divisive. Is like the new Halloween trilogy that they released. You kind of need the context of what happened in the original movie, like from 1978, to understand those films. But at the same time, it's like they also kind of are so like distinct from like the first movie itself that at the same time you don't need to see the original film.
But like, what are the new Halloween movies? Like, are they
Well, it's
also
like-
reboots?
but it's like, are they
or
soft
or are they
reboots, or are they, like,
remakes, or what?
sequels?
Well, because like, okay, so like for instance, like the Halloween movie that came out in like 2018, they said is a sequel to the original like 1978 film, but at the same time, like the 1978 film has like two other timelines that follow like a whole bunch of other shit that you don't really need to see like the original Halloween film to understand the plot of 2018, because they even kind of explain like what happened in the original movie in the 2018 film is my point.
Yeah.
Like having the context, like, you know, would make more sense with the movie, but at the same time, like those new Halloween films, like you could literally just watch it without the context of like the original film and it would still make sense.
You guys are gonna think this is crazy, but I've never seen a horror movie in my life.
I don't blame you.
Yeah,
to be fair, I have played horror video games, but not seen horror movies.
Yeah,
I mean, to be fair, I don't blame you because most horror movies kind of just suck, and most protagonists are just dumb as dog shit. So
And
it's
if I'm
not
being
really-
completely honest, why I haven't seen a horror movie, it's because I think I can't handle them. I admit it, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I
can
agree.
tell
It's
you
like
right now.
it's like
I can
even.
tell you right now, fucking. Oh, go ahead, my fault.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I don't like horror films for a similar reason to you. It's like most of the characters lack common sense. But it's like there were some horror films that I really liked recently. I'm not gonna say the name, but A-Safe knows what I'm talking about. Where it's like the main characters, you actively want them to survive because like they actually come up with logical ways of beating the villain. It's just that they're so ridiculously outclassed that they have no chance of winning. But it's like, it's like, I like how the characters are written in those films.
You can
it's
do
like,
everything right and still.
yeah, it's
die.
like, it's like, it doesn't matter if you do everything right, it's like, you're still fucked. Like,
Yeah, it kind of comes to a point to. It kind of comes to a point to, you know, even though you want the characters to win, you know they won't win because the antagonist is just so ridiculously overpowered. There's no realistic scenario.
Well, yeah, I feel
like for example, Jason Voorhees, you can't really. Let's say, for example, you had a main character equipped with just a regular 9mm pistol against Jason Voorhees. No matter how good they land their shots, they're not taking Voorhees down.
well, no, it's like,
Yeah, like,
well, it's like the reason why I think Jason is like a decent example is because like you can still, I don't want to say defeat him, but it's like you can get away from him, you can create distance. It's like
You can get away from him, but you can never.
yeah, you can never like beat him. I agree, but it's like
win.
the villain that I'm talking about with A-Safe, and I don't want to mention it because it fucking terrifies me. But it's like with that villain, it's like you literally cannot beat it. Like you're fucked. It's like
Like, unless you're fucking Goku, you're not.
No, yeah, I don't even think Goku.
Unless
It's like,
you're Titus.
it's literally one of those where as soon as the monster like tries to, it like sets its sights on you, it's like you're screwed. Like you can't do shit.
Like, is it like fucking Pennywise from the book?
Well, not really, because it's like even Pennywise has weaknesses. It's like it's kind of implied in the film that the monster has a weakness, but then when they try to exploit it, it just rewrites reality and makes it so that they can't exploit the weakness. It's so stupid.
So it's just bad writing. So it's just bad writing.
No, it's not bad writing. It's just the monster's designed to be so OP. Like it's kind of like it's like a metaphor for like. It's like a metaphor for mental health, where it's like no matter what you do, it's like you can't escape it without help, and even then, it's not guaranteed to work.
Kind of like the Smile monster from the Smile movies, where
yes, it is the Smile monster. Well done. Yeah, that's the monster I'm referring to.
The Smile monster, where no matter what the fuck you do.
Yeah, it's like no matter what you do, you're screwed. Yeah, I didn't want to say it because the film terrifies me because I have a fear of that sort of thing. But yeah, like that.
I watched it. It's not really scary. It's just mainly jump scare the movie.
It is creepy, yeah. I think it's just more so the concept of even when the main characters like think logically, it's like you can't beat it. Like
it's like one of those scenarios where we see the character defeat the monster in their mind, but no matter how much they defeat the monster, they still get cooked.
Yeah, it's kind of like one of those. But anyways,
literally in the first movie, we see that the main protagonist kills the monster in her mind, but the monster just says "nuh-uh" and just wins.
Yeah, literally. That's like I feel like horror films like that are pretty good, but it's like horror films that I don't like are like the Saw films where it's like
I never see them. Never
it's fucking crazy. You wanna know what's crazy about it? Is that the Smile monster can make you go under an illusion. In an illusion, like it can stack illusions.
Yeah, it's literally like a fucking like amp in a video game. It's crazy.
It's literally what Infinite should.
The only way you can.
Yeah, it's like that's what Infinite should have been. He should have just been like, all right.
Infinite should have deadass been the Smile monster, where he can stack illusions. Like he makes you go an illusion while you're already in an illusion. Like he should have done that shit. That shit would have been so fucking cool.
Yeah, but
another problem I have with like horror media, even though I have not seen any movies, is that I have done a little digging and heard some stuff over the years. My understanding from an outsider looking in is that a lot of horror media just seems unoriginal. Like a lot of times the monster's either like a demon or a clown or a ghost or a witch.
Well, the main problem with horror films these days is the protagonists are stupid. There's never like an intelligent protagonist.
Yeah, like that's kind of the thing I don't like about horror films. It's like you have like the Saw films where someone will literally do something dumb to put themselves in danger. It's like
your uncle did the fucking Pennywise voice to scare you.
Huh? What?
No, I was reading what Kiwi said, and that generally made me laugh because my uncle did a similar thing where he put on a Jason mask. And when I was a kid, he put on a Jason mask and turned off all the lights in my house just to sneak up on me while I was like watching fucking movies.
That's fucked up.
That is kind of tight, but I feel like we should get back to the video because we've pretty much
we've been going much off topic because that again this is what happens in debates. Oftentimes you'll just switch the argument.
Bro, I'm actually so mad. It's like there's times where I really want to get over that fear, but I just can't do it. Maybe at some point.
No, I would just remember like.
Well, to be fair, the best way to go over your fear is to
face it.
Face it. Yeah.
Well, it's like when I was younger, I had when I was like a kid. It's like I had a massive fear of like the werewolves, and it's like eventually I overcame it. So maybe in time.
Yeah, same thing.
And when
you probably just have to rewatch the Smile movie.
And when I overcame it, I was like, "Holy shit! Why was I scared of this?"
My fears are more internal than external.
But anyways, enough about me. Let's get back to the bit. So I'll rewind it like a minute just so we know like context because it's been like.
What was the video? It was about Infinite being a good villain.
Yes.
Infinite would have only been a good villain if he literally was the Smile monster.
No, like I'm also going to say, like, actually speaking of the video, this has to do with the video. So when you were saying like, but I was wanting to scream when you said like, oh, Shy doesn't care about who he fights or whatever, and he's just like a cold-blooded murderer. I'm like, no, he is fucking not.
Well, anyway,
like I'm just like,
anyways, let's get back into it. Actually, you know what? Before we did,
you compared Shadow to Infinite. When the fuck was this?
Yeah, apparently, when people criticize Infinite, they compare him to Shadow. It's like I've never heard anyone do that. Like
Shadow's
Shadow.
not even a villain. He was an anti-hero.
But it's like,
At
it's like even if you say that Shadow was a villain, it's like number one, he's way better than Infinite. Number two, he's a way better character overall. So it's like I don't really know.
And number three, he actually had justified reasons for becoming bad.
I'm gonna. Since we've been talking for a little while, I'm gonna go get a drink and go to the toilet. If anyone wants to get a snack or anything, we'll have like a little interlude. And then we'll be back.
Distract if need be. I'll distract if need be. Because I have my own takes on something.
Shadow to Infinite is like comparing a pear to an apple. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, like, I know that Brev said, like, that Shadow Generation is, like, shit because it doesn't really make sense, but I'm like, actually, it does make sense if you think about its psychology. Oh my god, my words today. I am not good at talking about, like, my defenses.
Yeah, that's pretty normal. Sometimes when you're, like, in front of a lot of people, like, we're in front of a stream right now, you often, like, stammer.
Right. So, but,
Yeah.
like, so the reason why I think Shadow Generations game makes sense and everything, because, like, it, like, for example, like, the Darker Beginnings, it kind of talks about how the fact that, like, he still has, like, PSCD, so have, like, these, like, small, like, panic attacks or whatever.
Like they could have done more with it. I feel like they could have done more with Shadow and Maria. Like,
yeah,
go more
for real. Yeah, get one more depth, which I like, honestly, I would love to see more of that animation and story with Shadow and everything.
Oh,
like,
you talking about the animation when he fought Emerald?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, that shit was. They need to make a Sonic anime with that animation, dude. Like, that shit's so fucking crispy.
That was really good. So, like, and anyways, but like with Shadow Generations, it's more of like he still thinks about Maria and Jero, like what they could have had if the bad things didn't happen or whatever.
Well,
like, yes, he did.
Yeah, oh my bad. Go ahead.
No, I just say like yes, like yes, he did technically move on and everything. You know, the whole point, like never turning back or whatever. But I do kind of relate to Shadow that way because I do have those thoughts like what events could have happened and stuff like that if this Saturday didn't happen or whatever. You know, I still kind of think about it just
faster.
No, to be honest, you wanna know what makes this really hilarious is that this makes Forces even worse because considering the fact that Shadow Generations is about Shadow moving on from Maria. So even if Infinite was like Smile where he tortured Shadow with Maria, it literally wouldn't work because Shadow moved on from her. And he would know that they were illusions, and so he wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, no, like, cause like literally, I say this, like, he moved on from his past, but hasn't
even more.
Yeah, it's like for me. No, I'm just gonna say the last thing I'm gonna say, then you can say is like the fact that for me with Shadow Journeys, it's like with Shadow 05, right, the terrible game. Like he moved on from his past. But when it comes to Shadow Generations, he hasn't moved on from Maria, I think, and that's like the whole point.
Well, I don't think he moves on from. I don't think he moves on in Shadow 5 because oftentimes in Shadow 5 he brings
Chaos
up
Symbol? You gotta be kidding me.
For example,
when he from a baby, which is fine by me.
Black Doom. For example, when he beats Black Doom in Shadow 5. He brings up Maria again, saying, Maria loved this planet, I won't let you destroy it. Showing that in Shadow 5, he doesn't move on, but he accepts it.
Right, yeah.
Anyways,
So it's kind of that scenario where Shadow 5 is about him accepting Maria's death, but Shadow Generation is him moving on from it.
You might touch the finish line, but you've never touched a woman. You're right, I haven't lost my virginity.
Probably for the best, given that she's like 8 years old, but you know.
I think she's 12, actually.
Whatever, it's still not.
I don't know why, since we're talking about Sonic, I'm just thinking about Sonic memes.
I'm gonna lie, I don't think that's a very good defense there, Kiwi.
Maria's 12, yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, let's get back to this.
Yeah, let's
Infinite through the context of a version of Sonic
I
Forces.
will defend Shadow Generations no
Wait,
matter what, Riff.
It's a good game, yeah.
Oh goodness, it's gonna be me versus all you lot. Oh dear. Yeah, that's probably one of the biggest disagreements I have. Like, I think Shadow Generations is like it's a decent game, but the story is just so unnecessary.
Well, yeah, but it's kind of the same thing with Generations, where it's literally like hey, do you guys remember the game?
Well, no, because Sonic Generations was specifically an anniversary title, but it's like Shadow Gens tries telling its own story.
Shadow Gens is the anniversary to Shadow.
Well, no, but that's all that.
Yes, I am.
That's
do you
all.
want to die?
Well, no,
yes, I do.
That's all that Sonic Generations was, though. But it's like with Shadow Gens, it's like it's a load of things at once, and it just doesn't work.
Take me, sweet dad.
I mean,
I disagree.
I agree that the story could have been better, and I feel like they should have gone more in depth with it. But it's not bad.
But it's like it just makes no difference to the canon. Like it's literally just a filler story.
Oh yeah. Speaking of that, we were actually talking about how Shadow Generation actually makes it worse for forces. Because if Shadow Generations is Shadow Generations is about Shadow moving on from Maria, and so that kind of makes Forces even worse. Because even if you made Infinite like Smile, where he tortured Shadow with illusions of Maria, it wouldn't work because Shadow moved on from Maria. Shadow literally just walked through illusions.
But it's like I don't even like the fact that Shadow Generations like brings back like Shadow's anger and like all this shit, because it's like the whole point of Shadow's journey in like his solo game was that he was moving past all of this, and it's like we see this in 06.
I don't think he was moving past it because he still brings up Maria the entire game, and even at the end of the game he still brings up Maria.
No,
it's kind of like
he moves past it in like subsequent games. So it's like Shadow 05 was like the last game where all that shit was weighing on him. And it's like in 06 we see that he moves past his anger and he like puts that stuff in the past. And it's like even when it's like
that
even
reminds me of one of the quotes he says to Solaris, "I will release you from the chains of your past."
Yeah, it's like even when Mephiles like tempts Shadow and he's like, mate, it don't matter what you do, it's like the humans will always fight you, and he just like even at that point Shadow's just like, nah, fuck you, Mephiles, I'm gonna do my own thing.
Well, to be fair, the timeline was erased, but Shadow doesn't really get that development. This is a timeline was erased.
Like, my thoughts were with, like, Shadow Generation is more of it, like, he's going through something, like, kind of, like, psychologically rather than, like, action, like, in Shadow 05. Because, like, we never really see... Like, yes, he did technically move on from past, but I still think he has, like a move on that the fact that, like, he feels like it's all his fault that Maria died and stuff.
Yeah,
so
that's kind of what I mean. Shadow 05 is about him accepting it, but it's not him moving on.
But it's like I feel like I feel like he does move on in 06. It's like the only thing that Shadow Generations is.
I agree he moved on in 06.
But it's like
since the timeline was erased, he lost all that development.
But it's like the only. Well, no, but it's like even if he didn't remember the events of 06, it's like he would still have like moved on from the events of 05, like canonically.
I mean, yeah, that's fair, but I still think like
it's like the
there's
only
like a part of him.
It's like
that
the only
wants...
thing that I think Shadow Generations does like legitimately good for his character is it gives him a bit of closure for like Maria.
I think.
But it's
I think
it.
That's why I like the game, because he actually did get some closure, because the only last thing he ever saw from his friend was like she died and she's like, just promise me that you will protect this world. So the fact that like
of his friend with her getting shot by a fucking 9mm. Like,
yeah, so the fact that like Shadow gets to see Maria and she's like, hey, just live on, I'm still be in your heart. If you can doing the good fight or whatever, I think you can be happy or whatever. And I think that does help like in his character arc where he's like, okay, I have closure now. I am able to actually move on and not have these like.
I do agree with Rift though that they're kind of just repeating Shadow.
Well, yeah, it's like because it's like Black Doom returns only to be defeated again for real this time. It's like Gerald and Maria is still dead. Yeah. It's like.
Like I will agree that is definitely confusing.
Yeah,
but it's like
for example, in Sonic Adventure is about him getting development by it, and then Shadow 5 is him getting again development, and then Sonic 06 again development. Like they're just kind of repeating the pattern of just him.
But I think the reason why that Black Doom probably did appear again because of the time meter bringing stuff from the past, so maybe that's how Black Doom comes back. But I think honestly, if I have to like change who like the main villain is, maybe. No, maybe not Mephiles. I don't know, but like I feel like.
Well,
doesn't Mephiles appear in Shadow Generation and get his ass whooped?
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that's like one of my favorite boss fights.
The same Mephiles that one-shot Sonic.
Because it's like, haha, fuck you, get wrecked. You're not.
Well, anyways.
The plotline.
That actually, by the way, that actually I never understood. That actually brings me up another thing that I never understood how people still think Sonic has never gotten stronger in the games. When Shadow needed the inhibitor rings to beat Mephiles the first time, but in the second game he just kind of whoops him easily.
Yeah, he does get stronger, but anyways, let's continue.
Back to the
This
back
is
to
their head.
wait.
They act as though Infinite started
Wait,
this
Rev, can you
blood
share
hunt-
your screen so
Oh.
there's no delay?
Yeah, we want. Yeah, because if we're gonna talk about the video, we should.
I didn't realize it stopped sharing the screen.
You're good. You're good.
Revenge because Shadow said mean things about him on Twitter. But the actual reality is that Shadow
is
is
what
a
happened,
remorseless killer who took the lives of people who were of zero threat to him, and then he expected no consequences for doing so, which would only come back to bite him in the ass when Infinite took his friends away from him as well. And
But it's like the issue with this, he has like this idea in his head that Shadow is like this merciless killer and he just kills everyone. But it's like in his own footage, he shows Shadow like letting Zero
no
go.
consequences for
like he
doing
doesn't
so,
kill him.
which would only come back to bite him in the ass.
Because if we
That's
remember,
when
he
Infinite
killed
took
the
his friends
Jackal
away from
Squad,
him
which
as
is
well.
confirmed by Eggman. He did kill the Jackal Squad.
But it's like it's never confirmed that he kills them. It's all it said is like he was defeated.
Eggman states they were destroyed, like destroyed as in completely.
Well, I mean, if that's the case, then I think it's weird that Shadow doesn't kill Infinite.
Well, considering the fact that Shadow only spares Infinite because he sees Infinite afraid, that kind of implies the Jackal Squad fought to their last breath without any fear.
I mean, I guess, but like, I still think it's stupid that Shadow would let one of them go when he kills the others.
Maybe just because he likes being
stupid, but like
bullied.
it's
I'm joking.
kind of a scenario where
And Shadow
it's kind of a scenario
doesn't even
like that.
remember who Infinite is because of how meaningless his encounter with him was in his eyes. Either that or he just forgot, and hey, it wouldn't be the first time this emo boy lost his memory. Don't get it twisted.
Oh my
I love
God.
Shadow. He's amazing. I want to marry him. I want to
What?
kiss
That
him.
is
But a
an
pretty common
interesting
thing I notice when
avatar.
people criticize Infinite's character is that they judge him by comparing him to Shadow, which doesn't work in the slightest.
Well, again, I've never heard that, but anyways.
Comparing
one in
any
the
character
history
to
of ever
Shadow,
has ever
one of the
compared
most
him to Shadow.
overpowered characters in the entire franchise, is always going to be unfair, and I think people know this.
What
of
Sonic,
course, Infinite is going to fall
show is
short when it
this? 'Cause
comes
the
to
animation
the ultimate
looks good.
life form.
I think this is the thing that leads up to the Shadow Generations game.
Yeah, it's called Dark
Okay, what's a
Beginning.
good-
It's
It's
what's a good
fucking
reference?
beautiful, dude.
But
It's
anyways.
beautiful animation.
So I can make, hang on. Oh, okay.
Almost
It's like
has
playing
like an
Bakugo
animated
up
look
against
to
Goku.
it.
That's your one anime joke for the entire year, so you better appreciate it. Calling Infinite and weak
Wait,
and
hold on.
pretending that he's a
Did he
pathetic...
compare Bakugo and Goku?
I don't know. I don't know what point he was trying to make. Like,
Villain is hilarious considering he has defeated Sonic twice and tortured him for 6 months. Like, are you then implying that Sonic is weaker than Infinite? Why do you love Sonic so
Yeah.
much then? He lost to the weakest villain twice at the end of Sonic.
I mean, like, Sonic is. I mean, never mind.
Can I
Even
say-
when Sonic,
It's
even
clear
when
he's got a.
even when-
It's clear he's got like a romanticized version of Infinite in his head. It's like.
Like I say, like I will say that I do like Infinite as a villain, but I do think because like one, I think his design is cool. Two, he did have potential being this powerful villain, but because we got like the DLC where we kind of learned of his backstory and how things happen throughout Sonic Forces, it
That's
makes
what me
him
and
like
Rick
a
were
terrible
Me
villain.
and Rick were saying this, that they should have made Infinite like the Smile Monster, where he can stack illusions.
But it's like that's
Yeah,
but it's like that's kind of the thing. It's like Infinite. Like the thing that's so stupid about this villain is that like yeah, he had a lot of potential, but it's like they ruined it. It's like how do you make a guy like this is the same guy who like routinely beats Sonic. Like Silver's nothing to him. Omega's nothing to him. It's like even Shadow has issues against him. It's like how do you make a character so strong yet he's such a moron? It's like oh like he could like. Sonic is debatably the biggest threat to this guy, and he lets him live. It's like, okay, you captured him and
Well, I think
tortured him for
Loki's the
6
biggest
months. Why would you not do that again at the end of Luminous Forest? It's like,
Yeah, that's why I'm like
even if you
that's why
can't, even if you can't be asked to kill him for reasons, just capture him. Do something. You've done it before. Do it again. He just doesn't. Like it's so
Well, to be
frustrating.
fair, I think Infinite capturing Sonic was only because he was doing Eggman a solid.
Well, no, but it's like he's still working with Eggman. It's like, and that's like part of the plan.
But to be fair, at that point, Infinite was like slowly separating himself from Eggman, which we do see in cutscenes where he was like talking shit to Eggman, saying that he's superior.
Well, it's like it's like
separating
even if he has like an ego complex, it's like he's still working with Eggman at the end of the game.
Yeah, he was still working with Eggman, but like they were slowly separating.
That's why I'm trying to rework my AU a bit to where I'm wanting to make Infinite like a badass character that he should be.
Well, it's like even if that was the case, it's like that would just like come back to the missed potential where it's like having a villain who's like so freaking powerful that he just disagrees with Eggman's motives, which makes sense because it's like, okay, like I whoop Sonic's ass, like you've struggled against him for years. It's like, yeah, you're pathetic as well. And they could have done
that ass, yeah, boy.
And they could have done like a classic Eggman teams up with Sonic storyline, but it's like they kind of don't do that.
That's kind of overdone. It's kind of overdone.
Well, it's overdone, but it would have made more sense where it's like, okay, he's like saying to Eggman's face, yeah, you suck, like you're nothing compared to me.
Yeah,
but it's like I'm gonna still work with you anyways. Like it doesn't work. But
yeah, it would make the story make more sense, obviously, but it's kind of the similar situation with Sonic. It's kind of the similar situation with Shadow. We're just kind of reusing the whole thing over and over again to where it'll eventually get tiresome.
But it's like I feel like the story could have been fixed if Sonic just went Super Sonic against Infinite.
It would have been fixed if they made Infinite actually OP.
Like if they kept a lot of what was in the story and just like they needed the Chaos Emeralds to fight Infinite, it's like I think that would just
That's
make.
actually a thing I've been wondering. Have they ever?
The little information I have on Sonic is that basically his version of going Super Saiyan, like Goku.
Have they ever explained in the story why Sonic never bothered going for the Emerald?
No, like the characters just forget the Chaos Emeralds exist. No one mentions the Chaos Emeralds in this story.
I think at the point, I think they were trying to get. I think this is like one of the games where they were trying to get rid of the Chaos Emeralds. That's my theory, like my conspiracy. Like they were trying to get rid of the Chaos Emeralds because they think maybe it's possibly too OP or something like that. But I'm like, but it's part of Sonic's story. Like you can't get rid of the Chaos Emeralds.
If you're gonna establish a villain is very powerful, you should do that by making Sonic going super.
Yeah, it's like that's what made the Titans so threatening, is the fact that Sonic was blatantly outmatched.
They were weak as dog shit compared to the end, but they were still soloing Super Sonic to where Super Sonic could actually lose to them.
Infinite is finally defeated by Sonic and friends due to a series of mistakes that would eventually come back to haunt him. During his fight with Silver, he drops a prototype of the Phantom Ruby, which would then come into possession of Gadget, who would use it to deflect most of Infinite's powers. But all
Wait, hold on,
Infinite...
hold the fuck on. That just pissed me off for no reason, because Infinite drops the ruby, but remember afterwards he says all the rubies are destroyed, but he just doesn't remember he dropped the ruby.
Yeah.
Just doesn't remember that.
Oh, wait, what? No, wait.
Yeah, because look, remember, Infinite after that fight with Silver says that he destroyed all the rubies.
Yeah, and it's like Eggman. It's like Eggman as well also remarks that the Phantom Ruby prototypes were destroyed.
I feel so bad playing this game so many times, thinking this game is good. Okay, I still technically actually do like the level set for the classic levels.
I'm
and
actually
do, like,
confused too. Why would Eggman ever make the prototypes? Ever?
Fucking no idea. But anyways.
Then exhausting the power of his ruby and pushing it far past the desired limits. Once he loses control of it, he is then consumed by the original Phantom Ruby and is presumed dead. But not before Sonic makes a speech about how he defeated Infinite with the power of friendship and determination or some bullshit, I don't know.
Possible. I cannot be defeated.
Wrong, loser.
You're a loser. Now, even though Infinite is implied to be dead,
but this is the thing that's so annoying. It's like this guy is like the biggest Infinite defender, and he still struggles to do it. It's like
Infinite's just a bitch.
It's like Infinite whoops Sonic's ass, aside from the time where he doesn't. It's like
he really. That's the kind of the thing of his main argument. His main argument is, oh, but Infinite can't be bad. He beat Sonic, and I'm like,
yeah, he also lost to Sonic.
So many people have beaten Sonic. Sonic's not invincible.
But it's like even so, it's like in other games when Sonic has like defeats the main villain with quote the superpower of teamwork. It's like he still uses the Chaos Emeralds.
Yeah, like in Sonic Generations, he had the power.
Well, not even that. It's like Adventure 2, Heroes, 06. It's like the Rush games.
Yeah, Adventure
it's like
1. Adventure 1 as well, because he needed the power of friendship to reactivate that.
Yeah,
the more
Adventure
I'm
1, I
learning
guess.
about Sonic as a franchise, the more I start to think it's very similar compared to Dragon Ball.
The Chaos Emeralds were shut down because Chaos absorbed majority of their negative Chaos energy, but because of the power of friendship, they reactivated the Emeralds.
Well, not even that. It's literally just stated that he used the negative energy, and Sonic uses the positive energy.
Well, yeah, but they unleashed the positive energy from. Yeah, but Tails and them state that using the power of friendship and their positive emotions for loving each other is what reactivated the Emeralds. Literally, the power of friendship. That's what Tails stated.
Canonically, he is still alive. The reason why we know this is that after the events of Forces, he sends a message to Eggman, which is a folder containing gay porn of Sonic and Shadow.
Yeah, I kind of figured
No,
that
I'm not
too,
joking. That's literally how I know he's still alive.
From the little Sonic media I have consumed, it's very obvious they took inspiration.
Mostly because of his association.
Hey, whoa, wait, hold on. Is he seriously? Hold on, rewind.
He was joking. He was joking.
He was joking.
He was joking. Relax.
With the second worst game in the series.
What
But the biggest
is,
reason
is he really going to take over?
No, it's clear he's
as
taking the
canon?
piss. Relax.
Why I consider him
No.
to be the best villain in the entire franchise
he's just
is that he has something that other villains don't have. Depth. Infinite.
Yeah, he's a.
Okay.
Oh, fucking hell.
Again,
has more depth.
I can't.
He has depth. Oh, dear.
I can't defend Infinite as much. I do say
Infinite
I do
does
like
not have-
Infinite.
Infinite has a cool design and shit, and it has loads of potential, but you literally can't defend him past that.
I don't even like using the potential argument because it's like they fucked up what little potential they
That's what I
had.
mean. Other than the potential argument and maybe the design looking cool.
It's like his design and his powers were like new for the series, but that's about it.
No, oh my god, Carson the fuck said no. That it's actually canon. I don't take Twitter takeovers as canon just because they're just answering questions on Twitter. It's not actually canon to the games or anything like that. They're just answering questions and making fun.
Let's let me humor your argument for a second. Okay, so it's canon that Infinite sends quote unquote porn of Sonic and Shadow to Eggman. It's like, okay, that just breaks the canon because Sonic has never once been implied to be gay in the games, and we see in Frontiers that he's actually in a relationship with Amy.
Well, it's
so
kind
it's
of
like
a Sonic Boom situation where it's just fanfiction.
Ian confirmed it's canon. Okay, and
Where?
Okay, that's fine. Ian just broke canon. That's fine. Who cares?
Well, that actually proves it's not canon because Ian stated that if his word contradicts the series, then it's not canon.
But it's like, well, not even that. It's like, if he confirms it's canon, then he just broke his verse, because it's never confirmed that Sonic is even in a relationship.
That's what I mean, it adds onto it, because if he confirms something is canon, but it contradicts the series canon, that means it's not canon, according to his word.
Yeah, but anyways, moving on.
Becoming who he is a direct result of the actions of one of the main characters. Shadow killing people that were no threat to him whatsoever did nothing but guarantee backlash in the form of Infinite. Even if we knew next to nothing about the Shadow Squad, what we do know is that they were important people in Zero's life, and witnessing Shadow slaughter them in cold blood would be the catalyst to him enacting revenge and becoming Infinite. Naughty Dog then saw its plotline and decided to copy it for The Last of Us Part 2. My point is that Infinite as a character has a lot more depth than people want to pretend.
Who's a Last of Us
He is one of the only sympathetic villains in the entire franchise.
How is you? Okay, even if he was even if he had depth and he was hell bent on getting revenge, he doesn't get revenge. He's so useless. It's like he's the biggest knobhead to ever.
Thing I can't defend Infinite on is that everything he does is genuinely fucking stupid.
Yeah, it's like okay, so he's an in-depth. So he's a villain with a lot of depth, and he wants revenge. Okay, he's useless at getting revenge. It's like okay, next point.
I get it. He was trying. I get it. He was trying to get revenge by blowing up the planet with the sun, but even then, that's stupid.
Yeah, it's literally so dumb.
Like, most
Like,
other
even,
villains
like,
either
Rivals
just
has
pop up out
better
of nowhere and
revenge
want to kill
flash than
Sonic from the
Infinite.
get-go, or eldritch horrors beyond human comprehension that want nothing more than the destruction of humanity.
Fucking Dark
Eggman just
Gaia
wants to
has
build a
more
theme
depth
park.
than Infinite.
But it's like I think Melina from Black Knight is way more sympathetic. Where it's like,
Bro, you wanna know what's crazy? Is that a literal being who can't talk or has any consciousness like Dark Gaia still has more depth.
fucking Chaos, who literally has no voice. He's more sympathetic.
No, I think it's implied Chaos is conscious.
Well, no. I never said he wasn't conscious. I said he can't speak.
Oh yeah.
Like
Chaos can't speak, and yet he still has more depth. It's
Yeah.
like being a raging monster.
I think
Like, that's
Melina
how
from
you
Black
know
Knight is probably one of the most sympathetic villains in the series. Where it's like,
that's under my bed.
where it's like in Black Knight, Melina's part of a dying world, and it's like she wants to make the entire world immortal just so that no one else has to suffer death.
Yeah,
It's like,
Damn,
okay,
I'm
that's-
just full of pop culture references today.
I get sometimes you don't want to make a sympathetic villain,
Person
but
the
you're
Fox
really trying to make
is-
Infinite sympathetic.
Ian and Sega have said everything is canon, so Infinite and Ignis on the Shadow is canon.
Alright, that's
no.
okay, that's fine. Ian just ruined the entire Sonic verse. There we go. If it's canon, he just
That is
ruined the
again
entire verse.
contradicted
No
by
worries.
Ian's word. Ian
Infinite is a
stated that if
character
he
who
breaks
can only
it, then
exist
it's
with the
not
help of
what
one
he
of
says.
Shadow's greatest flaws,
It
that
is
being
again
his
just
lack
another
of empathy and remorse.
You must do
While
this,
it's already
Sonic, or you'll
established
break
that
the canon
Eggman is in
events.
possession of the Phantom Ruby when all of this happens, I have my doubts that Zero would give in to the corruption if it wasn't for Shadow killing his friends. I think Eggman
Well,
would be
okay,
content
hold
with
on,
just
hold on,
using the
hold on,
Phantom
hold on,
Ruby to
hold on,
continue
hold on,
brainwashing
actually-
Zero and his
hold on,
squad.
hold on,
Alright,
hold on,
now
hold
since
on,
we are
hold
talking
on,
about
hold on,
both
hold on,
Shadow
hold on.
and Infinite,
Hold
I'm just gonna
on.
come out and say it. They have a lot more in common than people think. Both lost important people in their life. Both are filled with vengeance against.
You can't. He is the same guy who complained earlier that people were comparing Infinite to Shadow, and now he's doing that same thing. You can't. Is this parody? Is this actually parody? Like,
Here's the
You
thing,
literally
like,
can't make this shit up.
I swear this is parody. Like at this point.
Like,
I
here's the thing, like,
I might make a video responding to this. Honestly, this is just pain.
like, here's
I mean,
the thing,
technically
like,
you already are just via live stream.
No, this has been the most incoherent fuckfest. I mean, like an actual response video, like with clips from the games. This is pain.
this is like,
This
here's
is
the thing, this is like,
like
sure, they can have similarities, but that doesn't make them like they're the exact same character. Like, it's like,
But it's like, well, no, I'm not even gonna. I'm gonna save your brain cells. It's like even if they're similar, Shadow's way better.
yeah, no.
Against the world, and both shop at Hot Topic. But while Shadow was able to snap out of his initial spite and self-loathing, Infinite never did. He is in many ways.
Okay. So Shadow snapped out of the like loathing. Infinite didn't. Okay, Shadow's more interesting.
Bad ending version of Shadow. He has no friends.
But it's like, let me put it to you this way: which is a more interesting villain, Doc Ock or Venom from the Raimi films? It's like Doc Ock, the guy who literally like.
Let's go to answer Doc Ock.
Weird scenario. It kind
Probably
of
with
depends
me,
on if
Venom.
you like sympathetic villains or if you like mustache swirling villains.
But it's like either way, it's like I think Venom and Doc Ock are actually very good examples. Where it's like
more than one-dimensional, where you can understand their motivations.
But it's like Doc Ock is very sympathetic, Venom isn't, but like Venom is way better at like doing his whole killing thing than fucking Infinite is.
This is why I want to write Infinite as a better character, because I
loved ones left
sure
alive and
Cobb's is
instead
good, yeah,
decides to corrupt
but, like,
himself in order to become a weapon of mass destruction and nothing else. And just like how people
Ah,
initially
Dragon
made fun
Ball
of
Bubble
Shadow for being
furries.
edgy over a decade ago, people have since...
When did this video come
Oh
out?
my
9 days
God.
ago. Okay, I'm gonna have fun with this.
Or loved
I'm
ones left
playing around,
alive
guys.
and
I'm just
instead
trying to be
decides
funny.
to corrupt himself
You're
in
good, you're
order to
good.
become a weapon of mass destruction and nothing else.
I know,
And
I
just
suck-
like how
I know,
people
I suck at
initially
comedy,
made
I
fun of
just
Shadow
stop.
for being edgy over a decade ago, people have since moved to making fun of Infinite for the same reason.
Yep, I am getting
know a
serious,
lot of
but
the
seriously,
people
I am
pushing
getting
the
serious
but here's
Dragon
the
Ball
thing.
vibes.
propaganda, as I call it, were YouTubers that loved punching down on the Sonic franchise. But believe me when I say that it's not just them. I remember Sonic fans going along with that trend as well, and it's just funny seeing the fandom collectively make fun of Infinite and how edgy he is, while not realizing that him and Shadow are a lot more alike than they think.
They literally
No,
are.
but here's the thing. No, but here's the thing.
I like how he calls Shadow edgy while showing clips of Shadow only being edgy because he was threatened.
It's like the only time that he's edgy is in his shitty solo game that everyone except Bankai and a few other people seem to hate.
And even then, he's only really edgy because he's constantly fucking threatened by life or death.
It's like in Adventure 2, for example, he's not edgy. It's like
we're making fun of Shadow from 05 being edgy because like they're making him seem to be like so edgy because
it's like
early 2000s. In the early 2000s, everyone was going through an edgy phase. In the early
well, it's not even that. It's like it's not even that. It's like like they took a character like Shadow who had like a sympathetic backstory, and they made it so he rides motorcycles, he swears, he uses guns, and it's like it's so like jarringly different that it honestly borders on character assassination. Like it's
like,
just, but it's like if you compare like Shadow's origin to Infinite's origin, it's literally night and day.
Like I will say,
hold on. To be fair, wasn't Shadow in 05 convinced that he was an android?
Yeah, that was fucking dumb. I didn't like that plot point.
No, I was gonna say, like, actually, the fact that, like, Shadow in Sonic Hedgehog 3,
yeah, you get all the rest you need.
I'm just waiting for that to be over. Anyways, I was just saying, like,
so it kind of gave that feeling where in 05 Shadow
probably
was
water.
convinced he was an android, and so he kind of had an identity crisis, as he thought he wasn't the real Shadow.
Yeah, no,
So
I
he
was
just became less moral.
I was gonna say, like, the fact that, like, in Sonic Hedgehog 3 movie where Shadow has a motorcycle and a gun, they actually did it a lot better than the game where they did the same thing. Because it made sense.
Revenge Rock
In a few
is not
years,
that
though.
fucking good.
Moving on.
I'm sure once Sonic Forces reaches nostalgia status, that people who never played the game will talk about how much of a misunderstood and underrated masterpiece the game is.
I will never do that. It is one of the worst mainline Sonic
When did
games.
Sonic 06 come out?
When did 06 come out? When the fuck do you think it came out?
No, I meant Forces, my fault.
Forces is 2017.
Oh, 2017.
It came out in 2017.
Yeah.
That's already nostalgia. Like, that's already nostalgia fucking level.
Well, the fun.
It's probably just good, though. Not a lot of my favorite games are
Let me
good
just rewrite this. Let me just show you how ironic that statement was. You ready?
Give it a few years, though. I'm sure once Sonic Forces reaches nostalgia status, that people who never played the game will talk about how much of a misunderstood and underrated masterpiece the game is.
The best Sonic villain that everyone hates. The self-awareness is off the charts.
When in reality, it is the most 4 out of 10 video game ever made. Shadow and Infinite also have badass theme songs that fall under the category of edge slop.
No,
Okay. You know what? He's convinced me. Sonic and Infinite are the same character because they both have badass themes.
I will give him
what's that
that.
about?
Infinite's theme song is actually really nice.
I don't think it's anything special, but anyways, it's music.
It's not anything special, but I think it's
That's not a word. People have since moved on from laughing at Shadow's theme to loving it, and meanwhile people are making fun of Infinite's theme for being edgy.
People to this day
Like,
still make fun of
okay,
Shadow.
I hope this justifies me listening to the entirety of all vocal tracks for the Shadow the Hedgehog game, because I can say without a shadow of doubt
Isn't the point of like
that the
Shadow
music in the game is a gazillion
of
times
Sonic
more
in like
edgy
every
than
way?
Infinite's one theme song. Shadow the Hedgehog came out around a time where rock music was in an awkward period of late nu metal and pop punk, meaning the original songs in that game are peak examples of the phrase "ow the edge."
Gods, no more grave. Are you friend or fiend?
What does that have to do with Infinite exactly?
Apparently they have. Apparently Shadow and Mephiles have similar. Shadow and Infinite have similar themes because he seems to die on this hill that Shadow and Mephiles are at all similar.
Is what it's like when worlds
It sounds like someone's trying to see where they got mouthwash in
All
their
the Right
mouth.
Reasons, 10,000 Fists, The Poison, Lost and Found.
Right, I'll just skip slightly ahead.
But the song Infinite is not any worse than I Am All of Me.
Bro, I Am All of Me is 10 million times better than Infinite's theme. Like, that is such a...
I will agree. Like, I will agree to that. Like,
I'm
even
not,
though I
I'm not
do
even
like
gonna say
Infinite's
anything. I'm just gonna let it play. Hold on.
I like Infinite's theme, but it's nowhere near all game.
And one by one they fall. Black I will say, without Infinite's theme, we would not have Find Your Flame.
I love Infinite's theme, but it's not
Like, if
it's not
Infinite
all
is a bad
nature.
song because of how edgy it is, then boy, do I have news for you. Infinite's theme came out the same year as Concrete and Gold, Vessels, How Did We Get So Dark, Wolves, Outrageous Now, and One More Light. It's actually a really good album. People are just mean. By the time Sonic Forces came out, the scene for rock music was vastly different than it was in 2005, and nu metal was a thing of the past. I mean, look, it's not like we're gonna get Hoobastank.
This take aged like cheese because Frontiers came out.
This game. I have been told that the lead singer of Hoobastank sings the song Fist Bump, which is in Sonic Forces, and that I must apologize to all 3 Hoobastank fans that exist. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not a perfect person. There's many things.
But it's like this whole video is so frustrating because he makes a point, then he makes a joke, and then he just goes off on a fucking tangent. Like, it's so annoying.
I wish I didn't do, but I continue learning. Infinite is still.
It's like he says, oh, Shadow and Infinite are the same because yeah, reasons. Here, have a banana. It's like it's
a song, however.
I think the word you're looking for is that he's being very incoherent with his points. Like he's kind of just jumping all over the place.
Genre of nu metal while still feeling new.
Yeah.
So then the song comes out, it's in the game, and then people are saying that it's
dubstep.
Like,
dude, pick a lane and stick with it.
What's like, what does this song have to do with anything? Like, Shadow and Infinite have like similar songs. It's like, what the fuck's that got to do with anything?
Have you guys not heard of nu metal song?
It's like fucking Sonic. It's like fucking Sonic has songs that are
bullshit.
Before. Okay, there's this band I like. You probably haven't heard of them. They're pretty underground.
Oh my god!
Get to the.
When it comes to music, because
I've not
no
seen
more
him even
gods,
this
no
video
more
and I can
graves
tell his
wins
arguments
every
are
single
bad.
time. Sorry about the notification on my phone. I just got a message from Yuji Naka telling me to keep making this video. One of the biggest things I noticed when it comes to
BS from a mile away.
3.5 minutes left.
Discussion about Infinite is that people tend to judge him not off his actual character, but off a version of him that only exists in their heads. And I think a lot.
You literally are doing the same thing.
What? Hold on.
You are literally doing the same thing.
A lot of that reason is why the Sonic fan base is just permanently stuck with rose-tinted nostalgia glasses. This is the case with pretty much everything that came out 15 years ago. People look at it a lot better because they have fond memories of it and judge it objectively off that, when that's not how it works. For example, people believe Sonic X was the definitive adaptation of Sonic the Hedgehog solely because they grew up with the show, and the reality being it's a very mid show that has pretty lackluster writing with some hype moments. Or like how
oh dear, I'm just gonna we're just gonna let that stew in the pot.
Sonic X.
People believe
you wanna know what's funny? Sonic X is unironically infinitely times more better than Forces.
Agreed. But anyways.
Oh, like, seriously, like, I do not like the character Chris, but other than that, I do think
I
Sonic
hate
X is
Chris,
a good
but
show.
other than Chris, every other character in Sonic X is in character.
really good racing game when in actuality they just like the music, or when people started saying Sonic 06 was a good game because they got gaslit into thinking that by a fan project that changes literally everything about the game and pretends it's still the same thing.
No, that's bullshit.
Isn't it unanimously agreed that Sonic 06 is the worst Sonic game in the franchise?
No.
Here's the I will say this here. Sonic 06, yeah, is not the best Sonic game, but it's better than Forces. It's better than Lost World.
Oh, that's
at least has a challenge.
Because
Yeah,
from
at
what
least
I've heard over the years, that was one of the most buggy, unfinished, broken Sonic games in the 2000s.
Well, it's like it's to the point where Sonic 06, it's like it's one of those games where it's like it's so bad it's good, but it's like you have some games where they're just they're just tragic.
It's one of those games where even if you get to the glitches of the game, it's so bad that it's funny.
But it's like,
I honestly don't care.
But it's like
you're
06
gonna disagree with me on
but it's
this,
like
but I feel
06
like if
also-
a game comes out broken, then I'm never gonna buy it, even if they do fix it.
But it's like
Because, you know,
06
like Miyamoto said, a rush game is bad forever, but a delay game is eventually good.
But it's like 06 still has like objectively good things about it. It's like the music's great, level design's fantastic. It has like the best version of Shadow in the
When I saw the
series.
horrible, disastrous launch for Cyberpunk 2077, I'm like, yep, I'm never buying that game. Add that game to the permanent shit list.
You say, well, that take also aged like milk because it's actually really good now. They fixed it.
I know, but my point is that it should have never been that way to begin with, and I don't think people should buy it because it's just going to teach these companies saying,
I mean,
oh,
pretty much every game nowadays releases in a bad state.
Right, even when we fix it.
I mean, it's like pretty much every game nowadays releases in a buggy state.
That's a business practice I've been wanting to die since the beginning of the 2010s.
Like, here's the thing. Like, the reason why I say...
There's just damned if you do, damned if you don't, because companies will always force their employees.
That's the response I always get. Like, oh, it's okay, but it's fixed now. Like, I don't care. It should have never been that way to begin with.
Yeah,
You're always
like Malik raises a good point. It's like Project 06 like still has the level design from the original. Like all it does is change the controls. And, like fixes a few
I don't want developers to continue to think it's okay to release unfinished games. I'm sick of it. This is why I don't buy most games day one.
I mean, let's be honest. Pretty much every Sonic game is unfinished, so maybe stay away from the Sonic franchise.
I understand there were games in the 2000s that also were unfinished, but that shit didn't become common until the 2010s to now.
That's like,
anyways,
Rick actually has a really good point because Sega workers constantly state that Sega just rushes them so that the games are not finished.
Yeah, it's like that shit's a problem, but at the end of the day,
yes, and as consumers of whatever franchise you're in, we should be demanding better.
That's
high quality standards.
It's like, yeah, I agree we should demand better, but it's like if they're not going to give us better, then all we can do is review what's given to us.
Yeah,
I encourage people to not buy games even when they say they'll eventually fix it.
Imagine if PO6 releases a remaster for 06 and shit. I mean, I wouldn't really like that, because, I mean, 06 is, I don't know.
I remember, no, I do remember this. There was a Sonic game that was a remaster of, what was it called? Sonic Colors or something? That game had a that game had a bug that could literally cause epileptic seizures. And that could put people at risk.
Yeah, it's bad, but anyways.
Eating Play-Doh doesn't mean it's a good thing. I think a lot of people have that same mentality when it comes to Shadow, the game, not the character. Like, yeah, we can
what made me even crazier is that people were defending it. Like, no, you can't defend that. That's a bug that can literally harm people.
It still controls poorly and has a flawed gameplay loop, but people usually forget that because they have nostalgia vision when it comes to stuff like that. And I do too. I have fond memories of that game and the music and the cutscenes in it and trying to get the different endings, but then trying to play it today is like getting hit with whiplash because it's not as good as the version that was in your head. Seriously, go play the game
reminding
right
me of the Sonic.
And I'm not talking about playing it
video
on
from
an
a YouTuber
emulator
named
with a patch
Tactical
mod
Baker
that fixes
Production who
everything.
said, "Sonic fans, you deserve better."
No, play the vanilla version of the game and you'll see what I mean. Where the hell am I even going with all this? I guess what
I
I'm trying
encourage you to
say
watch
is
that video
even
at
though
some
Shadow
point
the
if
Hedgehog
it's
isn't a
in
good
future
game,
Rift.
it still has things
It's a
about it
good
that I
video.
appreciate. The story is really interesting and Shadow's character arc is incredible. Black Doom is an iconic villain and I enjoy him and his Shockmaster voice a lot.
The 7 Chaos Emeralds are needed to demonstrate its full power.
I think that Black Doom in the game does
The
have...
same can also be said for Sonic
Has
Forces.
an interesting
Yeah, the
voice.
game is bad.
I like
It's
the
ass,
voice.
but there's still things about it that I really appreciate, and Infinite is one of those things. And I genuinely do believe that he is the best villain in the entire franchise.
Christ.
That's definitely a hot take of today.
Fucking Metal Overlord is better than this douchebag.
Pretty much anyone's better. Like Eggman's better. Fucking Mephiles is better.
Chaos is better. Fucking Biolizard is better.
Nah, Doom is
Well, it's like,
good at best.
well, it's
No,
like-
I'm saying...
Well, it's like the thing is like if you want to compare this guy to Chaos, it's like okay, what happened to Mephiles? What happened to Infinite? It's like okay, his friends were killed. It's like okay, fucking Chaos's entire species was killed. It's like okay, what happens with Infinite? Oh, he's just a boring guy and he's like oh I'm just gonna be a twat because why not? What happens with Chaos? It's like okay. He nearly destroys the world, but he gets a redemption arc because he like sees the good in people. It's like Chaos is literally Infinite but better.
Chaos did need to get. To be fair, Chaos did need to get his ass beat to see the good in people, but he still saw it regardless.
Yeah, it's like he was able to eventually like move past his anger to like see the best in everyone.
He needed to get his ass beat.
We're done with the video, right?
guys, just
no.
Just so you know, in the chat, like,
Okay,
guys,
was there
I said
anything else
that
you wanted
Black
to talk
Doom's
about with
voice
this
is
character?
good. I was just saying the voice of Black Doom is good. I like
He's
Black Doom's
voiced by
voice.
Liam O'Brien.
Still thrashing around, I see.
Well, it's like
Okay, so like he voices other villains that are like better than Infinite.
to be honest, I think Black Doom's pretty mid. I don't really like Black Doom as a villain.
He's pretty mid, but like he's better than Infinite at least.
Well, it's like I think he has more of an impact on the series than Infinite did because like
obviously Yeah,
Because at the
obviously
very least, he's like kind of integral to Shadow's origin, but he's
Yeah,
just.
no, I never said that like Black-Doom is like the best villain. I just said that I just like his voice. Like Black-Doom's voice in Shadow of 5, I thought it was good, you know.
Infinite is pretty good. I think Infinite's shit, to be honest. Like,
It's kind of obvious Black-Doom is more impactful to the story because he's the entire reason Shadow even exists.
Yeah, I will admit, I will admit, like, Black-Doom is kind of a mid-boss battle in Shadow of 5.
No,
if you're not
we're not even saying boss battle, we're just saying character in general.
But it's like, let's like, if we go through the villains, it's like, because he seems to think that Infinite is like one of the best sympathetic villains and what have you. It's like, going through them one at a time, it's like, Chaos is better. Metal Sonic is, you can argue Metal Sonic is more sympathetic than this guy.
Yeah, you actually can.
Because like Metal Sonic was literally destroyed and thrown away by his like original master.
And you wanna know what's funny about that too? If you looked from the eyes of Metal, it's kind of, he would think he was betrayed. Because remember, Metal thinks he's the real Sonic, so he sees all of Sonic's friends hating him but loving Sonic. So in Metal's eyes, he would think all of his friends betrayed him.
Yeah, and it's like it also makes him like sympathetic. 'Cause it's like, well, anyways.
Even like he has like a mark in the comics.
But it's like going over
from Metal's standpoint, Sonic made all his friends betray him from Metal's eyes.
But it's like going through them as well. It's like Black-Doom. It's like, okay, he's shit, but at the very least, he had like an impact on the canon. Mephiles was a very good villain.
No, I think he's like one of, like I don't think he's like he could take Eggman's place as the best villain, but I do think he's like one of my favorite villains.
But it's like going over the other villains. It's like the Eraser Jin was kind of generic.
Sleep.
It's like
he's generic, but he really builds up Shara.
Yeah, it's like I think
it's like been up all night.
But it's like even Dark Gaia. It's like Dark Gaia doesn't have much of a character, but he has some of the best lore.
He has no character. It's literally just a raging, mindless monster.
But it's like he does have pretty good lore at least, which I really like, and he's and he's one of the best designed villains.
It's so fucking hilarious that a raging monster with no personality is better than a edgy character who has a personality.
It's like Melina has like is a great sympathetic villain.
Melina, fucking I would argue. Nah, Jin was kind of mid, but he really developed Shara really good. He developed her really good.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of other villains. Because I don't want to say Neo Metal Sonic because that's basically Metal Sonic in his like different form.
I don't really know if you'd consider I don't really know if you'd consider her a villain, but Sage, like Sage, I think is better designed than Infinite.
Well, Sage is kind of like an anti-hero because she tries to kill Sonic, but
yeah, but it's like so was Shadow. It's like Shadow was a villain at some point, and he's comparing Infinite to Shadow, so it's like I think it's fair to compare Infinite to Sage.
I think at that point you would just call them an anti-hero, though.
Well, no, but it's like if a character starts out as a villain, either way, it's like he's comparing Infinite to Shadow. I think it's fair to compare Infinite to Sage.
Okay, is this a hot take if I say that I think at least Infinite is a bit better than Zavok from Last World? Because I'm gonna be honest, I got bored with Zavok more than Infinite.
Well, it's like even Zavok, it's like at the very least he's like a good manipulator. It's like he shows that he's like I don't know. It's like the rest of the Sinister Six from Wish. It's like they're not very good.
I heard a really good point that Savak can actually be a good villain. It's just the Deadly Six are wearing him down.
Yeah, it's like I quite like I quite like that aspect.
I guess
like
so.
Savak could be a really good, amazing villain, but because of the Sinister Six, he's just kind of ass.
And then you have Eggman, where it's just he's the goat. So it's like I just don't like Infinite.
I personally think Chaos or Metal are better villains than Eggman, but I still like Eggman.
Yeah, it's like Infinite just has the best Sonic villain that everyone hates. It's like
the best Sonic villain that everyone hates would be fucking Mephiles, because Mephiles is arguably dog shit, but people still like him.
Oh, I like Mephiles is a good villain.
Yeah, I like Mephiles, but I know he's dog shit.
No, I don't think he's dog shit. He's alright. In
I mean dog shit as in he does stupid shit the entire game.
I mean, in Shadow Generations, he's a nothing burger, but in 06, he's decent.
I mean, I do. He does a lot of dumb shit. Like he could have just killed Sonic from the beginning, but he.
I think the whole idea behind that is he just wants to fuck with the characters.
Well, I guess it makes sense that he never killed Sonic from the beginning, because the only way to release Iblis is to make Elise cry. So he needed to make Sonic and Elise like get a bond.
I think the biggest like stupid thing about 06's writing is the idea that she never cried like in all that time. It's like, mate.
Yeah, to be fair,
it's like, mate, her fucking dad died and she didn't cry from that.
Well, to be fair, it's kind of a scenario where maybe she just becomes emotionless, but meeting Sonic makes her gain emotion.
Yeah, it's
you can argue that she became so traumatized that she left her emotions behind, but meeting Sonic made her regain her emotions.
This comment perfectly sums it up. YouTubers say something good about Sonic Forces without also bashing it. Challenge.
YouTubers say something good about Sonic Forces and without bashing it. Challenge. Impossible. Fucking.
Yeah, it's like even in this video, it's like he tried defending Infinite and he couldn't defend parts of Forces' writing.
You can't defend Infinite without talking
shit. I can't read it. It's too tiny.
But it's like I already read it out. It's like it is what it is.
It's just like here's the thing. Like I get it. Like I understand because we had a new villain, he's gonna be interesting and stuff like that. But then when the game came out, he's just like literally. Like you said, dog shit. Like, I really want to like Infinite. Like, I want him to be my favorite new villain. But because of everything that happens in the game, it's just terrible.
Have you seen Sonic Forces Overclocked?
Gerald Robotnik is more interesting in Sonic Adventure 2 than Infinite, and he had a couple of minutes of screen time. Yeah, yeah, he's literally dead in the main story, and he's more interesting.
Fucking Mecha Sonic from Sonic 3 and Knuckles is more interesting.
It's like Emerald from Sonic Battle. It's like he's more interesting.
Do I look like I need your power?
It's funny that fucking the Metal Sonics from 1, 2, and 3, like Silver Sonic and Mecha Sonic, are more interesting than fucking Infinite.
I mean, even like Metal Sonic right now, like in I don't know if they finished it or not.
I'm talking about Mecha and Silver Sonic.
You know what's kind of funny? I think all the talking about Sonic actually makes me want to engage more with the franchise. I might go see the other 2 Sonic movies now.
Yeah. But anyways, I was just saying, I know you were talking about those, but I'm talking about like I think in the IDW comics right now, Metal Sonic right now is like really, really interesting right now because he is now like affecting everyone with this metal virus.
I didn't know there were Sonic comics.
No, that wasn't Metal Sonic. That was Eggman.
Yeah, that was Eggman.
Oh, okay. I can't remember. I'm comics right now. I read the comics.
Is his name Robotnik or is it Eggman?
His real name is Robotnik, but he calls himself Eggman now because
as a trophy.
Yeah, Sonic unironically called him Eggman so many times that he was like, "All right, fuck it."
It's kind of a scenario where his original name was Robotnik, but because Sonic made fun of him for being the shape of the egg, he took the name as persona.
Yeah, he unironically said, "All right, you're calling me Eggman. I'm gonna make the universe fear the name Eggman."
Eggman.
And he did.
Also, I will add on to your point.
I didn't hear what you said, Rip. You cut out on my end.
Yeah, so I said Sonic called him Eggman so many times that he was just like, "All right, I'm gonna make the universe fear the name Eggman."
Which is actually really smart.
Yeah. Which technically he almost did it as well.
Like my head hurts from watching that video.
It's really fucking smart to make a meme that you're mocked for be feared. That's really fucking smart.
Yeah.
Wait, someone did try to say earlier that Lime is a Sparnos or she, her. Okay, but like.
Why does that matter?
Why is that
right?
Wait, what was that? Elise has great willpower. No, bullshit. Like, if you're a kid and your father dies, there's no way you ain't crying.
My pronouns are he, him, but I don't think anyone cares.
That's what I kind of mean. That's what I kind of mean by it would have been better if they explained it as Elise, through getting traumatized, loses her emotion, which can actually happen. Trauma can make you emotionally shut down.
But it's like,
So they could've
I just
explained
don't,
where she
I just don't buy the idea that she didn't cry from her father's death when she cries like seconds after Sonic dies.
Well, to be fair, it's implied that Sonic like was a love interest, and he reactivated her emotions.
But it's like, it's a fucking dad. Like, I just
It's
don't.
a dad, but Sonic's a lover.
I don't
Like,
care. It's like if you cry over family, or you're emotional over family.
Yeah, but that's
Well,
what
then,
I mean.
then
It
I
would have
must
been
be
better
an
explained.
asshole.
Yeah, it would have been better explained if they had it so at least mentally and emotionally shut down from trauma, which can actually happen from loss.
Yeah, but
You
that
know
was
what's funny is-
never done. So
You know what's funny
Yeah,
is
and
that I
that's what I
didn't cry
kind of
about
mean.
my great
At
grandma's
least,
death.
that's what I mean. At least most likely didn't cry because
The Sonic series is-
made her emotionally shut down, and Sonic reactivated her emotion.
Like, I didn't cry about my great grandma's death, but that's because I was very young at the time, so I didn't
And
really
it's
process it.
realistic too. It's realistic too, because through trauma, like losing someone, you can actually emotionally shut down. That's an actual condition you can go through.
Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles versus Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. Oh dear, that wouldn't end very well for them.
Which version? Which version of Superman and
I just think Superman. And I think those characters bully, to be honest.
The Sonic versus Mirror Gray needs to stop. Oh no,
Wait, are they talking about the crossover versions of
I mean,
I don't know.
I don't know, but it's like, I think more often
It's
than
someone
not,
in the chat that they were saying.
the
Yeah,
Sonic.
it's kind of a scenario.
In an
It's kind of a
amazing
scenario
state
where
where-
they're getting a crossover. So what
Then that,
version are you talking about?
I hope they do it this way. That is criticism. That's fine. You can say you don't like something. When you look at it, you could look at it and just, analyze it a little bit and then just be like, I don't think this is good. I think this is a bad thing about the game. But that's not what I'm referring to. I'm referring to game trailer comes out. Man, I didn't feel anything when I watched this trailer, and it's just instantaneous negativity. Bam, let's talk about how the models don't look good. Bam, let's talk about reused assets. Let's just assume the game is not gonna be good. We've been seeing this happen continually, especially with Shadow Generations, with it being a boost game and people instantly went to, it's too linear, it's only gonna have 3 stages. There was so much pessimism surrounding Sonic, and that is still here.
It's like,
I do agree people judge too quickly.
yeah, no
on
worries.
trailers.
But it's like, I also think that, like, reusing assets so much is, like, I do think it's a problem. Like, it made sense for...
It is a problem.
It made sense for Generations and I guess Mania, because they were, like, anniversary titles. But it's like, I just don't like that they keep doing it. Like, they do it for, like, Forces, Frontiers.
I do agree reusing assets can get tedious eventually. But, like, I also agree with him that people do judge too quickly on trailers alone.
Well, it's like,
instead of actually,
well, it's like, I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing, because it's like, if you think something's crap and it comes out and it's good, it's like, okay, fair enough. But it's like,
well, that kind of adds on to the point, don't you think? That just kind of shows that you judge too quickly.
Well, again, it's like, because if the trailer doesn't impress you, it's like, and if you respond negative, it's like,
the whole point of a trailer is not to show the full product. It's not.
Well,
show
no,
the
but
full
it's
product.
the trailers are also supposed to get you invested in the product, and it's like with the trailers for Shadow Generations, I was bored. Like I was just like, oh, okay, they're reusing assets. Okay, it looks crap. They showed gameplay, and I'm like, oh, he's just running forward. Long pathways, it looks like Forces.
Yeah,
like
again,
I was legitimately tapped out of Shadow Generations before it even began.
Yeah.
But it's like when I played
it falls under the condition don't judge a book by its cover.
Well, I mean, I would agree, but it's like if the trailer isn't interesting, then it's like they're not doing themselves any favors.
Isn't that judging a book by its cover then?
Well, no, because the trailer's supposed to get you invested in a product, and
The trailer is meant to get you invested, but it's not the complete product. It's a demo.
Well, yeah, but it's like if they don't show you stuff that's worth getting you invested, then you're not gonna get invested.
The only thing I would say about
It's like it's like something with a good example is like Sonic Frontiers, where it's like, yeah, they showed a lot of reused content, but they also showed like cool shit. Like they showed like the combat, which looked really good, They showed like the Titan fights. Well, they showed like the Giganto fight, anyways.
I don't think that's a fair comparison because Frontiers is more based around combat and exploration, whereas the Generation games are just focused on rushing to the level as fast as you can.
Well, I mean, either way, it's like the trailers got. Well, no, the trailers got you invested. Like they showed you shit that you like actually were fascinated with. But it's like with Shadow Generations, it's like. And I'd also point out...
I was actually the opposite when it comes to the Shadow Generation trailers. Like, I was really excited to see, like, the Doom War powers and stuff.
Whoops. The Doom powers suck. Only Doom Wings is good.
But...
Doom Wings and Chaos, and Doom Chaos.
Bamir sucks.
Doom Spears, you mean?
Yeah, Doom Spears. My bad. I'm so...
For me, I like Doom Spears. I think they were good. I liked the Doom Wings. It was a little bit hard to control.
That's what I mean. Doom Wings and Doom Chaos Spear were good, but Doom fucking Surf was objectively ass.
But it's like if we're looking at this, for example, it's like I think this is how you do a trailer for like a recent game, for like a recent Sonic game, anyways.
Tear down the walls between dimensions.
I will say this, by the way, they should have added more to the open world of Frontiers.
Agreed.
I do agree with people that the open world of Frontiers feels very barren at times.
Yeah. Like, this shit looks awesome. Like, even years later.
Destroy the cartels.
The music doesn't help
awesome,
either.
But then the game... That's kind of funny, because the trailer for Shadow Gens was ass, but then the actual Shadow Gens game is pretty fun. But then the Sonic Frontiers trailer was good, but then the actual game is very barren.
Like, mate, this shit looks awesome.
It looks awesome, but I still think it's an unfair comparison, because conceptually they're both very different on their gameplay.
You know what's funny? I love the fact that, like, during some, like, the promotion for Sonic Frontiers, they used the song Don't Stop Me Now by Queens, and because the first movie came out, and they used that song in the movie.
The fuck you on about?
Don't fucking remind me, Jesus.
Okay, so you know how in the first Sonic movie they used the song by Queen's "Don't Stop Me Now"?
Didn't they use "Gangster's Paradise" for the fucking trailer?
For the Ugly Sonic one, yeah. But then and then when Sonic Frontiers came out too, and they were doing like a promotion for like Christmas and stuff, they they also played the song.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that was funny. That they did
I will
that.
say this, I feel like Sonic's kind of nerfed in the movies. I feel like they aren't showing the maximum potential he could really be.
Yeah, well, he's a child! He's a child!
He's a child, but so was Sonic in Sonic Adventure.
Don't worry,
Sonic was fucking 12.
Healthy. Me and my brothers used to do this kind of thing all the time.
But yeah, like now these days, Sonic is like an adult.
Fucking love this scene.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Sonic was a child during the adventure games as well, which this movie's based off of. It's based off the adventure game, and Sonic was a child in adventure game. And yet he was still like fucking doing impressive shit. I feel like this... Like, I get that the movies aren't gonna scale to the same as the game, but I feel like Sonic gets his ass beat way too often in this game to where he's really
Time to light the afterburners. It's a bird! It's a plane!
Like in Sonic 1, he got his ass beat by fucking Eggman, no difficulty, and Knuckles his ass no difficulty, and now Shadow is no difficulty. Like, I feel like he gets no diffs way too much.
Fucking love that scene.
I fucking love it.
Okay.
So when I first saw this movie and I saw Tails and Knuckles, like they were right there at the end, I was like, how the fuck did they win?
Yeah.
Right.
I like this scene as well. Like, honestly, Honestly, Maria in this film was so fucking precious. Like, when she drew a face on Shadow, I was, like, actually laughing.
I was laughing. I was like, oh, this is so adorable.
Yeah. I still can't believe Gerald didn't fucking die from the explosion, but she did.
Jump scare.
He's like, what do you want, human?
Oh, he looks very unhappy.
Well, to be fair,
He just make angry face at him. He's like, "Rrr."
She's just like, grr.
Yeah, I would be unhappy too if I was just treated up.
If I was just woke up by a random person I've never met before.
Yeah. Like, he was just taking that. Also, how is Shadow breathing?
You don't need to breathe. Bro. That is amazing!
Just like, what the?
Shadow's like, what the fuck are you doing? He's just like, no. My god, this scene's so precious.
That's good. I kind of wish they had more scenes like this. Like, I feel like we didn't get enough.
Aww. He's smiling.
I just feel like he's so good.
Jesus Christ.
Shadow's just like, what the fuck are you doing? That just looks shit.
She's so gigantic compared to him, Jesus.
But that's the. They're like 3 foot tall.
Yeah, I was like, hey, you want to do something stupid?
Why ain't she? That looks just flat out dangerous.
Does
yeah,
getting
pulled by a hedgehog that can run faster than you.
Shadow's just like.
Clearly.
He does the wave. That's so precious.
It's so cute. I was just want to hug Shadow.
I don't know about you, Rick, but getting pulled by a hedgehog that can go faster than you like seems pretty safe to me. I don't know.
That sounds pretty.
Yeah, it sounds pretty safe.
It's not. People hate that scene, but like it's so good.
Fucking
Popcorn.
throw popcorn at his
Do you
face.
think Shadow has a favorite food?
I don't know.
Oh, really like coffee beans in the Twitter
No, no, baby, no, my Shadow. My favorite
Nah, this
baby.
is. I think this is so dumb, the fact that she can get away with that. But, anyways.
Well, to be fair, she's the professor's granddaughter, so who's going to say no to the professor's granddaughter?
I mean, I guess.
It's kind of like if you worked in a factory and your boss's daughter is right there. You're not going to say no to the the daughter of your boss. Like, then you're not going to do that.
My grandfather says it can take hundreds of years for the light of a star to reach Earth, and by the time you see it, the star might not even exist anymore. Isn't that crazy?
The light shines, even though the star is gone.
I feel like it's kind of dumb they got rid of Black Doom, or like the Doom species.
I don't mind it.
Backstory.
But here's the thing, but here's the thing though, they technically didn't because they said that he came from a meteor. A meteor!
Well, that's the thing.
Well,
that's getting rid of the Doom species because Shadow in the games was made by the Doom species.
Well,
anyway, he was just summoned by a meteor.
Anyways, I think I'm gonna cut. I can't speak. Hold on. I think
you want to go?
Yeah, I've got our food ready. So unfortunately, that is going to be the end for today. Once again, a massive thank you for the 13,000 subscribers. That's very nice. And yeah, we'll see you guys Friday, where Monster Hunter Wilds is coming out. So new game, and I'm very excited about it. So yeah, we're going to be killing some massive monsters. It's going to be a right laugh. So yeah, take care everyone. Take care everyone, and we will see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye.